In this world there are people known as raiders. They loot, defeat shadow monsters, and most importantly, they protect people. With the job being so dangerous, they are known to some as heroes, some as targets, and some as inspirations. But there is a moment when their heart races uncontrollably and everything they know goes out the window. That moment is the moment of their death. We are introduced to two characters, Min Jaehyun and Jong Woo Min, while in a heated argument. They're in a cafe discussing a job offer. Jaehyun is frustrated because Woo Min wants him to be a frontline shield in a dungeon full of undead monsters. Jong Woo Min is his partner from the raider agency, responsible for assigning work to freelance raiders. Despite Jaehyun's protests, he understands that his D-rank status and warrior specialization puts him at a disadvantage in finding better jobs. Jaehyun reflects on the fact that magicians are preferred over warriors like him in the raiding business due to their better performance in combat and lower risk of injury. He laments not choosing to become a magician when he had the chance 11 years ago. The narrative shifts to Jaehyun's past. He excelled in magic aptitude tests but chose to pursue martial arts, which led him to his current predicament as a struggling D-rank raider. He contemplates his life choices and regrets. Jong Woo Min presents Jaehyun with a risky opportunity to earn money. Despite initial resistance, Jaehyun agrees, knowing that he needs the income to survive. The next day, as they gather for the dungeon raid, Jaehyun realizes that Jong Woo Min is absent, knowing it is probably for the best as Jong Woo Min is an A-rank magician. But he sees another familiar face, Myung-ho, another fellow warrior-classed raider, with an opposite outlook to his own. He sees great opportunity for work in the current world for people with warrior classes. Despite the delay, they eventually enter the dungeon. He explains the dungeon being a dangerous place, always testing raiders. But Jaehyun, knowing this always, checks his phone before entering dungeons, remembering a picture of his mother, whom has sadly passed away. In the dungeon, Jaehyun and other warriors form a front line to protect the magicians casting spells. The raid progresses smoothly, and Jaehyun begins to relax. During a break, Jaehyun experiences a sudden system error, strange messages, and a mysterious voice. He notices a firefly-like light and wonders if he should follow it. Intrigued and wondering what the light could be leading to, Jaehyun gets up, telling Myung-ho that he will be right back, and follows the light. Following Jaehyun, as he follows the lights, he attempts to use the Asura system, but is still unable to access the status window. Noticing the damage files, he attempts to recover the program using safe mode. As the program reboots, he's surprised to hear a voice in his mind expressing frustration and confusion about the situation. Jaehyun, who has had a stable experience with the system for 17 years, is perplexed by this sudden turn of events. He contemplates the possibility that the system crash might be related to an unknown presence infiltrating it. As Jaehyun ponders the situation, he looks at a white light and speculates about changes in the Asura system. The system, named after Norse gods, was created as a last hope for humanity during a time of catastrophe brought about by monsters and disasters. The narrative then shifts to a backstory about the appearance of an enormous tree, Yggdrasil, in the Pacific Ocean 20 years ago, which marked the beginning of worldwide calamities and the rise of mythological monsters. Humanity's struggle against these creatures led to the emergence of the first awakened individual, giving a glimmer of hope to humanity. As more awakened appeared, the Asura system was known to be the strongest weapon, used by the strongest individuals of mankind. All these people over time were given a name from their monster hunting. They called them raiders. Returning to the present, Jaehyun encounters an enormous, rusted steel door emitting an unknown aura. Excitedly, he identifies it as a treasure gate, a rare occurrence in high-rank dungeons where valuable items can be found. He hopes for a valuable equipment item that he can sell for a substantial sum. Upon opening the door, Jaehyun finds himself in a room with torches and a mysterious altar. A shining sphere on the altar catches his attention, and he identifies it as the artifact he's looking for. With anticipation, he touches the sphere, and a voice announces the recovery of some system functions. A new equipment item, Odin's Lost Eye, has been acquired. Jaehyun contemplates the value of the item, recognizing it as the only mythic-rated item in the world. This realization fills him with joy as he envisions a life of comfort and luxury. However, he decides not to equip the item and potentially lose its value. He leaves the treasure gate, ready to rejoin his raiding group. Back with his group, Jaehyun rejoins his teammates, apologizing for his delay. He hides the existence of the mythic item he found, choosing to keep it a secret due to dungeons being a lawless environment. As they prepare for battle, an explosion suddenly interrupts their plans. As Jaehyun recovers from the explosion, a poisonous cloud begins filling the room, throwing the dungeon into a chaotic and dangerous situation. Jaehyun, amidst the confusion, sees Myung-ho, who lets him know that they must all get out, but before he can let everyone know, a spear stabs him through the stomach, leaving Jaehyun with a shocked expression. Knowing he is in danger, he starts running, analyzing the situation to be the work of contracted dungeon killers. Stumped, unable to think of an escape route, he musters up courage due to the mythic item he obtained. But before he can do anything, a figure attacks him with a lightning chain. Narrowly dodging the attack, Jaehyun hears a familiar voice. Upon turning around, he sees Young Woo-min grinning with a sinister look. Jong Woo-min is revealed as the orchestrator of the attack. Jaehyun, scared witnessing his friend, knows he must stay calm, so he asks Jong Woo-min why, who responds it was his client's request. Also adding that a lot of people dislike the Meteor Guild for their demeaning outlook of the other guilds. Jaehyun, hearing Jong Woo-min, knows that this was a planned attack, not some careless assassins taking advantage of a closed dungeon. Figuring that Jong Woo-min is an A-rank magician, a genius with a top 2% score in the country. He knows he will be unable to win, but since Jaehyun is not a target, he concludes keeping his mouth shut should get him out of the situation unscathed. He is remorseful that he could not exact revenge for his fallen comrades, especially Myung-ho, but with the Asura system being down, there is no other way. As he tells Jong Woo-min that he will unsee everything he has here today. Another attack from the lightning chain is used as an attempt to kill him once again. Quite confused, Jong Woo-min lets him know that there was another target beside the Meteor Guild, Jaehyun. Jong Woo-min's lightning chain is relentlessly used in a barrage of attacks against Jaehyun. Wondering why he is a target amongst the constant attacks, he racks his mind for the people who would want to see him dead. Jaehyun's world shatters as he comprehends that his father is the one who contracted Jong Woo-min to end his life. In the face of this shocking revelation, Jaehyun asks Jong Woo-min if he was also involved in the death of his mother. Answering yes, Jaehyun remembers how he cried by his dead mother's side 5 years ago. Jong Woo-min, non-remorseful, taunts Jaehyun, finishing with a goodbye, indicating his final strike. With the attack incoming, Jaehyun is stood still, letting out a breath. He activates Odin's lost eye, his mana now growing intensively. Jong Woo-min is spooked, not wasting a moment using his lightning chain, but right before it pierces Jaehyun's eyes. Jong Woo-min's lightning chain is destroyed, then the system says the item has been bound to the user and a blank card can be used. With this unexpected turn of events, Jong Woo-min is enraged at the disappearance of his lightning chain. Jaehyun, with a cold demeanor, lets Jong Woo-min know that his death would be a painful one, as he uses the lightning spear to chase, then break through Jong's defense, ending his life. Despite his victory, Jaehyun had succumbed to major blood loss and his energy had been depleted. He falls unconscious, seemingly on the brink of death. Jaehyun gets a prompt stating that in order for his new operation system to take place, time will be regressed to the period he most desired, as the Nornir system begins operation. Seeing multiple female goddesses and new obtained skills, Jaehyun awakens in a familiar setting from his past, his childhood home. Thinking it to be a dream, his mother walks in, making him cry uncontrollably as he embraces her. November 15, 2020. Jaehyun has successfully regressed back in time. Upon doing so, the quest Rest is the Mother of Success is created, stating he must recover his vitality. Jaehyun, now reflecting on everything that had just occurred, his acceptance of the strange circumstances due to his familiarity with the Asura system, and his realization that he has been sent back in time to his 3rd year of middle school. Confusion and uncertainty, Jaehyun contemplates the events that have transpired, including his father's betrayal, his mother's death, and the introduction of the new Nornir system. Determined to make the most of this second chance, Jaehyun resolves to correct his past mistake of choosing to become a warrior instead of a magician. He scribbles out a reminder on his calendar and firmly decides to follow a different path this time. Jaehyun, having dinner with his mother, struggles to believe that he's actually back in the past. He tries to hide his emotions by focusing on eating, but memories of his mother's death flood his mind, leaving him uneasy. Earlier that day, Jaehyun had embraced his mother and cried, which worried her deeply. She wonders if he's having trouble with high school applications, but he reassures her that it's just a nightmare he's been having. Jaehyun opens up to his mother about his plans to change his department to magic when applying to school. She supports his decision and encourages him to follow his passion. Jaehyun, thinking of the name Min Song-o, the determination to become stronger to exact revenge against this person, his father, he must choose this path and succeed as a magician in order to see his goal achieved. After completing his quest recovering his vitality, Jaehyun examines his new skills and decides to focus on raising his stats, with special attention to endurance. He's intrigued by the passive skill, One Watched by the Gods, which seems to enhance his growth with the blessing of gods against the Asura. He's also curious about his other new skills, such as Absolute Eye of God and Lightning Chain. Jaehyun contemplates learning a healing spell, realizing its value as a raider and the advantages it could give him in terms of public perception. Knowing that healing skills are truly valuable, especially in the beginning, due to finding awakens with the ability being extremely difficult. He must also use the blank cards wisely, because he is pretty certain that there will not be a lot of them given. Suddenly, he receives messages from his childhood friend Kim Yoo-young. The mention of her brings back painful memories of a traumatic event involving her. Jaehyun, resolving to change that past event, replies to Kim Yoo-young's messages. Introduced to Yoo Sung-un, an S-ranked healer and guild master, who is traveling with her security Park Sung-jae. She's weakened due to overusing her powerful healing spell, Sacrifice, which drains her vitality each time she uses it. Park Sung-jae expresses concern for her health, wishing there was another person capable of using a healing spell with the strength of Sacrifice. Yoo Sung-un telling Park Sung-jae she thought they were not to mention that, leaves Park Sung-jae worried, because the Saintess of Korea cannot keep operating like this without repercussions. Jaehyun seeing Kim Yoo-young after regressing, they are to attend an event where the famous healer Yoo Sung-un, a guild master, is giving a speech. Jaehyun, joking with Kim Yoo-young, thinks how the opportunity to see Yoo Sung-un is amazing because he may be able to copy her Sacrifice skill, potentially giving him a great connection in the future. With Jaehyun recalling what he remembered from the future, Yoo Sung-un was a worldwide top-rated healer, who did her best to protect everyone, especially the citizens. With the speech starting though, Jaehyun recalled that all this won't matter in 2 months during a dungeon raid, because she will enter a critical condition with no one capable of saving her, unless he copies her Sacrifice skill. Yoo Sung-un, starting her speech, discusses the challenges of a world plagued by monsters and the need for courage among the awakened to become raiders and protect innocent lives. Kim Yoo-young admires Yoo Sung-un's speech, while Jaehyun reflects on his own shift from being a raider to pursuing magic. After the speech, Jaehyun plans to meet Yoo Sung-un and her manager, so he leaves Kim Yoo-young, telling her that her mother is on the way, and that he switched his career path to a magic user. Leaving her, sad and confused, Jaehyun walks away without explaining anything further. Seeing Park Sung-jae, Jaehyun approaches, but he immediately tries to deter him. However, Jaehyun reveals that he knows about Yoo Sung-un's incurable illness and offers to heal her using her unique skill, Sacrifice. Park Sung-jae reacts with anger and disbelief, but Yoo Sung-un decides to hear Jaehyun out. In Yoo Sung-un's office, Jaehyun explains his intention to copy her Sacrifice skill to cure her, as she can't use it on herself due to its nature. Yoo Sung-un testing Jaehyun's claim by using her skill on him. He successfully absorbs it into a blank card. Then, he demonstrates his healing power on her and halts the process midway, gaining their attention. Jaehyun proposes negotiations, aiming to gain Yoo Sung-un's cooperation in return for his help with her illness. Jaehyun's elation is palpable, his understanding of the skill's mechanics growing. Yoo Sung-un, intrigued by his capabilities, seeks his allegiance for Manhwa Guild. A conversation unfolds about Jaehyun's dreams and aspirations, how he needs resources like money, comrades, and connections to achieve his goals. Yoo Sung-un listens keenly, recognizing his potential. Jaehyun proposes that the guild supports his endeavors, but Yoo Sung-un sets forth a condition. She acknowledges her personal illness, separate from the guild, and explains that his request for their assistance isn't an equitable exchange. This introduces a complex negotiation between them. Unexpectedly, Yoo Sung-un throws Jaehyun a curveball by inquiring about his desire to join a guild. This shocks Jaehyun. He interprets it as a scouting request. Yoo Sung-un clarifies her interest, highlighting his unique qualities, his information-gathering ability, skill replication, and his unwavering demeanor even in her presence. Jaehyun recalled Manhwa Guild collapsing after Yoo Sung-un succumbed to the effects of her Sacrifice skill, for unknown reasons. So with the guild being number 1 and Jaehyun able to heal Yoo Sung-un, joining their guild and reaping the rewards could possibly be a good idea. Yoo Sung-un, interrupting his train of thought, offers him an opportunity to join Manhwa Guild through priority negotiation rights, a gesture that astonishes him given his history of rejection. Overwhelmed by the prospect, Jaehyun chooses to focus on his healing abilities before making a decision. He successfully heals Yoo Sung-un's illness, garnering the guild and Park Sung-jae's respect. Yoo Sung-un, crying feeling her ailments leaving her body, is super thankful to Jaehyun for healing her, as she gives him her business card stating any demands he has, she will do her best to fulfill them. Jaehyun, stating there is something he would like right away, is shown getting of a vehicle chauffeured by Park Sung-jae. Arriving at their destination, we see a dungeon gate, belonging to the Manhwa Guild. Knowing this to be the Mila's Academy where geniuses go to get stronger, Jaehyun must survive this place in order to get stronger. Before entering the dungeon, Park Sung-jae equips Jaehyun with spare equipment and a warp stone, due to him entering alone, the stone will come in handy if he ever finds himself in danger. Jaehyun needed to do this dungeon so he can level up. As he enters the dungeon sensing it to be an E rank, he claims that he should have no problems with completing it. Entering the dungeon, a shocking development unfolds. Instead of entering a conventional dungeon, Jaehyun experiences a disorienting transfer through the Nornir system, transporting him to the land of the dead in Helheim. This unexpected twist leaves Jaehyun bewildered. Parallel to Jaehyun's dungeon exploration, Yoo Sung-un is wondering about the outcome of Jaehyun in the dungeon. The only way he will come out of this dungeon alive, if he is truly talented, especially since he is entering alone, per his request. The thought swirling through her mind, Park Hana knocking on the door, is immediately told to enter by Yoo Sung, handing her a file on Jaehyun. With her curiosity piqued, she had to know more about Jaehyun, hence the file on him. Shockingly, his profile reveals an unprecedented magic aptitude of 97%, classified as top secret and absolutely forbidden to share. This revelation astonishes Yoo Sung-un and Park Hana, compelling them to seek more information from Jaehyun. Back with Jaehyun, he has been placed in a graveyard, but does not have enough time to familiarize himself, as an undead monster shoots an arrow at him, grazing his cheek. Beginning to think of a plan of action, while using sacrifice to heal the wound, since it was poisonous as well. More undead monsters begin appearing out of nowhere, creating a real problem for Jaehyun. Kim Yoo-young, still frustrated from her encounter with Jaehyun earlier and confused over his sudden departure without informing her. She contemplates his recent decisions and questions his motives, reflecting on the drastic shifts in his behavior. Jaehyun, surrounded by wraiths, a skeleton archer and a draugr, is hesitantly smiling due to having to face them all. Equipping the lotus staff that was given to him by Park Sun-jae, he goes over the 7 worlds and their rulers. Him being in Helheim, the darkest and coldest world out of them all, surviving is truly impossible for beginners, but in his case with his newly acquired skill, sacrifice. It can be applied to undead creatures, transforming into a potent attack called Light's Judgment. Despite the challenge, he remains determined to conquer the dungeon. Choosing not to use sacrifice as his experience in magic is really low, the lotus staff is used taking out the enemies before him, gaining him experience points. Successfully handling a few enemies, the lotus staff breaks, leaving him vulnerable and confused, wondering how mages actually fight. Realizing he took the situation too lightly, breaking the lotus staff, he activates sacrifice, and Light's Judgment starts raining down, taking out the enemies, as the last one is defeated if level is increased by 1, and his health is restored. Knowing that he was extremely lucky in this situation, he wonders how he even ended up in this dungeon, likely linking it to his Nornir system. He wonders if it's time to use the warp stone to escape. But sensing an eerie and terrifying presence, Jaehyun is unable to breathe and he goes silent. With a shadow appearing behind him, the Nightshade, a formidable boss-level monster far beyond the expected challenge of an E-ranked dungeon, and Jaehyun. The system informs him to make a hasty escape. Attempting to use the warp stone to escape, the Nightshade hits him, flinging the warp stone out of his hand and leaving him in a critical condition. Unable to move or heal, Jaehyun is closing his eyes, seemingly accepting death, while the Nightshade closes in to take him out. But opening his eyes knowing that he should have been dead by now. The Nightshade's claws have stopped right before his face. With a voice saying that his death would not be acceptable, as he is a guest, what appears to be the silhouette of Loki's daughter is seen extending her hand to him, telling him that he is the one born destined to be the adversary. Jaehyun finds himself face to face with Loki's daughter, her appearance being a blend of beauty and decay. While struggling to comprehend her presence, she talks about her disappointment in seeing Jaehyun, as he is just an average kid in her eyes. And Loki chose him to face the Asura gods. Jaehyun, thinking that he is losing his mind due to blood loss, his hopes to exact revenge on his father are slipping away, thinking that this is the end of the line for him. Having to endure this, Loki's daughter tells him he must become stronger, because if hell comes again, she will have to kill him herself. Loki's daughter presenting him with an opportunity to prove his resolve in becoming stronger. Jaehyun receives a new main quest named Hell's Trial from the system, prompting him to defeat the Nightshade within 2 months to earn Hell's recognition. As he grapples with the woman's words, Jaehyun is being dragged down by numerous hands, while Loki's daughter wishes him success, calling him the chosen child of Nornir. Transported back to the dungeon entrance. His wounds have miraculously healed, leaving him confused and uncertain. He contemplates the significance of Hell's words, understanding that he will die if he stops getting stronger. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Jaehyun knows he must overcome a lot, learning how to fight as a mage, learning low-ranked magic. He has no foundation, which he must quickly gain in order to beat the Nightshade. Thinking how he will accomplish this, Park Sun-jae sends him a text saying, Yoo Sung-eun would like to see him. Thinking this to be perfect timing, the next day arrives and Jaehyun is walking with Park Sun-jae to meet Yoo Sung-eun. Knowing that she has called him for his amazing magic results, he explains that choosing magic in his previous life was done from the people in his surroundings and indecisiveness. With no more time to think, he sees Yoo Sung-eun, who says she has been waiting on him. Jaehyun's conversation with Yoo Sung-eun reveals his contract conditions: a monthly allowance, endless supply up to B-rank equipment, also does not have to pay for the broken equipment. And if he completes a dungeon, the split would be 8-2, depending on how much he contributed. Realizing he got an amazing contract worthy of an A-rank raider, he has one more stipulation: desiring to be personally taught in magic by Yoo Sung-eun. This audacious request surprises Park Sun-jae, who marvels at Jaehyun's boldness in front of the revered guild master. Yoo Sung-eun, intrigued by Jaehyun's confidence, agrees to the condition and expresses her interest in testing his abilities. Jaehyun clarifying that she would like to test him, Park Sun-jae is sweating, knowing with Yoo Sung-eun's current expression he must be prepared for anything. As he asks what he would be tested on, she introduces a mana cube, a challenging device used by magicians to test their mana sensitivity and control. Despite his initial reservations, Jaehyun thinks Yoo Sung-eun is using this to discourage him. But with her confirming that nothing in the contract will change from his results, he decides to face the challenge head-on to maintain his negotiating power. As Jaehyun enters Mana Cube, Park Sun-jae is addressing Yoo Sung-eun being hesitant to let a kid enter a Mana Cube. With her saying that Jaehyun is an unordinary kid, she has a really good feeling about Jaehyun. Now in the dungeon, Jaehyun finds himself underwater, being able to breathe without any problems. He recalls information regarding the cube. One must be very careful being exposed to high concentrations of mana, as it can lead to a person's death. So being in a world created by mana, he must escape as quickly as possible, and with only one way out, he must find the whirlpool that leads to the door connected to the outside world. Jaehyun focusing, he gets a feeling of something. Staring in the direction he sensed, he sees a crystal. Feeling that it possesses all the mana in the ocean, his expression is that of a shocked person. Back with Park Sun-jae, he is shocked by Yoo Sung-eun's confidence in Jaehyun, asking her how long she thinks he would take. With the two options being either he sets a new world record, or fails the dungeon. A crack is seen in the mana cube, shocking them both. With the time only being 10 minutes and there already being a crack on the cube, the two wonder what is happening inside. Back in the cube, Jaehyun realizes that the crystal is likely the mana cube's core, and decides to break it. He successfully shatters the crystal and the cube, receiving a new skill and being transported back to the real world. The mana cube breaking, Yoo Sung-eun and Park Sun-jae are astonished, stating that out of all the ranks of raiders, only 7% of magicians would be able to break the mana cube. And out of all of them, the best time was 36 minutes, by a certified genius. So, with a B-rank raider doing it in 10 minutes, he must be on a different level. Park Sun-jae ecstatically, congratulating Jaehyun for this feat. Yoo Sung-eun interrupts, asking how he was able to escape so quickly. Stating that he found and crushed some kind of crystal, Yoo Sung-eun springs up repeating, "Crushed the crystal?" Knowing that an ordinary awakened should not be able to get close to the mana cube's core, the fact that he was able to even break the crystal proves his mana capable of exceeding the mana cube. Overly satisfied with Jaehyun's demonstration, Yoo Sung-eun accepts Jaehyun's request of being trained by her, even going so far as to say she will make him the greatest magician ever. Jaehyun returning from his test, he shocks Kim Yoo-young and his mother, while exiting from an expensive fancy car. When he goes back home, he explains to Kim Yoo-young his reason for switching classes. With his answers going against what he said a few days ago, Kim Yoo-young is confused by his sudden change of mind. Jaehyun quickly switching the conversation, asking Kim Yoo-young why she was even at his place, due to her questions becoming harder to answer. We found out that she is an only child of Monster Corp's dismantlers, and due to this they are always traveling selling parts to different countries. So, she often sleeps over as her parents and Jaehyun's mother are friends. With the answer given, Jaehyun asks Kim Yoo-young to train him in magic theory. Their playful banter with the question, illustrating their close relationship, Jaehyun is seen smiling, knowing that things are truly great right now. The atmosphere changes as the sun is setting, and a man is taking out a snake-like monster with a spear. Pulling the spear from the snake's head, another man screams out Mr. Min Song-o, attracting the attention of the man who is retrieving his spear. The two parties conversating, we find out that they are on a raid, and Min Song-o is unaligned with a guild. With the man seeing Min Song-o's capabilities, he hopes of recruiting him to his guild. But when he grabs his shoulder attempting to convince him, Min Song-o gets irritated as he gives him a death stare, activating an ability, calling humans truly greedy creatures, but revising his statement saying it's not only just humans. Ming Song-o disappears, leaving the man, who has no recollection of anything that has just happened. The next day, Jae-hyun begins training with Yoo Sung-eun, her requesting a spar before starting any sort of lesson. He is told to attack. Both of them sizing up each other, Jae-hyun throws a punch only for Yoo Sung-eun to grab it. As she releases his fist, he jumps backwards, thinking expected of an S-rank raider. Yoo Sung-eun taking the opportunity to teach Jae-hyun, she states that coming from a warrior class, your only instincts are to attack without thought. This will be the first thing he must identify as a mage. Figuring out the distance you should be fighting your opponent is crucial. Possibly having a better learning experience from an example. Yoo Sung-eun will show him the capabilities of a trained magician. Her attack intensifying the spar, especially saying if anything happens, she will just heal him. Jae-hyun pulls out the lightning chain and the two begin to go at it. Each one thoroughly impressed with the other's attacks throughout the fight. Yoo Sung-eun is even more impressed that Jae-hyun, being so young, can fight without incantations, and even almost land an attack on her. But unfortunately, he is still inexperienced, as he finds himself on his back in a split second, and Yoo Sung-eun standing over smirking at him. Jae-hyun unable to determine how she defeated him, he realizes S-rank raiders are on a completely different level. Yoo Sung-eun thinking of the spar, Jae-hyun's fighting style has left an impact on her. She tells him that she would like to teach him a fighting style that no one can learn except him, with her instructing Jae-hyun to call her teacher from now on. His path to becoming a great magician begins, as he becomes Yoo Sung-eun's first ever apprentice. Jae-hyun learning magic theory from Kim Yoo-young, he is taught the three main magic classes, healing, buff and battle. He also notices every time he achieves something, the system prompts him about it, making it seem like the system is counting on his improvement. Kim Yoo-young super impressed by how quickly Jae-hyun is learning. Gets sad knowing if he keeps up at this pace, he could overtake her soon. Unable to let her know that he must or he will die by hell's hands, the two continue talking until, in the middle of a sentence, Jae-hyun senses what seems to be his father, implying does he really think the path he is on is of his own choice. But when Kim Yoo-young asks him about who is helping him to practice casting magic, Jae-hyun answers, wondering if what occurred was just a dream. Recalling Hell's 2-month timeline, Jae-hyun cannot dwell on what happened for too long as he must refocus. Thinking of a mysterious wonder pill that can help him overcome his current problems. We return to Park Sun-jae while he is in a training hall advising the guild rookies. When he sees Yoo Sung-eun approaching her discussing the progress of the rookies, she does not initially respond. Park Sun-jae asks her if she was thinking about Jae-hyun, knowing that she would like to teach him the difficult fighting style that no one has been able to learn. Responding that Park Sun-jae is an eyewitness to Jae-hyun's skills. The potential he carries to not only become an S-rank raider, but shake up the world of magic is something she cannot get off of her mind. Jae-hyun's pursuit of a potion recipe called the Mana Enhancement Potion. This potion increases the mana of those who consume it, making them more powerful. However, the potion's recipe has not yet been discovered by anyone except Jae-hyun. Before his return to the past, the recipe was shared by a world-class researcher, but now only Jae-hyun knows it. In the present, the recipe for Mana Enhancement Potion was something that would be shared in 5 years. So that meant that right now, the only person who knew the steps to making the potion was Jae-hyun. Before returning to the past, the potion's recipe was shared free of charge by a world-class researcher hired by the country. While watching TV, Jae-hyun had learned about the recipe of the potion by chance, but looking into it, he remembered that the person who shared the recipe was the youngest son of the Lees, Lee Jae-sang, a prestigious raider family. As he shared the recipe free of charge, he said these words: "I hope to be of great help to the numerous raiders around the world." Jae-hyun attempting to brew the potion but faces difficulty in getting the procedure right. He becomes frustrated as he wastes expensive ingredients and contemplates the value of the potion. He realizes that Lee Jae-sang, being a current first year at the Milla's Academy, he should attempt creating a connection with him, even if he is unable to make the elixir, explaining Lee Jae-sang, being the child of Lee Jae-shin, an S-rank raider, sometimes referred to as Quick Blade, who appeared after the first awaken vanished, stepping up to take on his responsibilities. This is the man Jae-hyun was attempting to meet. Setting out to Taegu through a portal, as Milla's Academy was located in this city. Upon entering, he observes that the area is dangerous due to the presence of demonic creatures. He waits outside the academy's main gate for Lee Jae-sang. Jae-hyun attempting to figure out where Lee Jae-sang could possibly be, he overhears students inside a classroom taunting another student stutter, with no other person willing to help the student. Jae-hyun pushes past, reaching the door of where the commotion is coming from. Opening the door, a student bumps into him out of breath, but the student turning around, Jae-hyun has found Lee Jae-sang. Jaehyun addressing Lee Jae-sang making sure he is okay, the bully approaches him warning him if he gets involved, things will end up bad for him. Knocking his hand away ignoring him, he tells Lee Jae-sang they should visit the nurse's office. The bully enraged, grabs Jae-sang's collar letting him know he will have to pay. Not impressed, he thinks back to his magic lessons knowing that it activates when he thinks of a clear image. Activating Holy Arrow hitting the bully in the gut, he screams out in pain, making all the students confused. The bully hearing the students, knows he cannot let Jaehyun walk away as that would ruin his reputation. So, clutching his arm he conjures up a blade made of light, attacking Jaehyun, but Jaehyun again recalling his magic lessons, recalls Yoo Sung-hoon's explanation on creating a barrier, so attacks will bounce off. Activating it in the nick of time, the sword bounces off the barrier and Jaehyun now pissed, grabs the bully's head activating Holy Arrow again, knocking the bully out cold. Lee Jae-sang taken back at Jaehyun's demonstration, wonders who he is. Jaehyun taking a look at the bully on the ground, he thinks he could have possibly gone overboard, pulling out a healing potion he created pouring it on the bully. Lee Jae-sang is truly impressed with its effects wondering who could make such a potion. But the conversation is immediately switched, as Jaehyun lets Lee Jae-sang know it's time for them to head to the nurse's office. Lee Jae-sang nervous, follows Jaehyun but while walking, he is quite aware that they are not heading to the nurse's office. Calling Jaehyun out on it, he wonders if he was sent by his father. Jaehyun sensing the misunderstanding decides that he should not spook him more, letting Lee Jae-sang know that he has no clue who his father is. Revealing his true intentions that he would like his help in creating potions. Lee Jae-sang is shocked claiming to not know how, until Jaehyun pulls out a potion bottle he created. Knowing that Lee Jae-sang would wonder how he tracked him down as the bottle that was sold used the black market, which was a super secure, due to it being on the Asura system. Sellers and buyers were never identified, but with Jaehyun having the potion, Lee Jae-sang had a hard time denying its creation to be him. Thinking back to when he sold it for money, he did not expect the outcome to be this way. Thinking it will not end well especially if his father finds out, Lee Jae-sang begs Jaehyun not to tell another person. Jaehyun assuring him that it was not his intention, he just needed a good alchemist. Lee Jae-sang begins to believe him asking him again who he is. With Lee Jae-sang arriving at his studio with Jaehyun, the two begin conversing. Lee Jae-sang wondering the potion that was used, Jaehyun reveals it to be the elixir of magic reinforcement permanently increasing the magic power of a raider. Lee Jae-sang shocked that it should not be possible, Jaehyun knows it to be as it was made by the man in front of him. Lee Jae-sang immediately thinking of the ingredients correctly. Jaehyun notices the sheer talent possessed by Lee Jae-sang, making him even more adamant to build a connection with him. Jaehyun convincing Lee Jae-sang that he will invest in him no matter how many times he messes up, he believes and trusts in him. Feeling overwhelming supported Lee Jae-sang begins to cry and Jaehyun secures an important part to achieving his goal. What do you think is next for Jaehyun? Comment down below, like the video and subscribe. For more videos like this, check the channel out, and thank you for watching. Lee Jae-sang is deeply moved by Min Jaehyun's kind words. It's a poignant moment, as Jaehyun becomes the first person to truly believe in Lee, who has lived in the shadow of his talented siblings, endured the loss of his mother at a young age, and struggled to earn his father's approval. As the story progresses, we find Jaehyun and Seonjian engaged in intense training sessions. Seonjian notices a crack in her magic shield, a testament to the growing strength of Jaehyun. Time passes, and they continue their rigorous training regimen. Park Sunjae stepping in stopping their battle, before they broke the force field potentially causing real damage. Seonjian was impressed by Jaehyun's speedy growth in using magic, she asked him if he was learning magical theory separately. Jaehyun replying he was learning from a friend, Seonjian was glad. As she herself would not have enough time to teach him, she was glad he had a smart friend to teach him. Jaehyun thinking of Kim Yoo-jung's smarts, but horrible personality Seonjian asks him if he was thinking of entering another dungeon. Jaehyun replying he wanted to test out his training. Seonjian assumed he was entering a E-rank dungeon telling him it would be a joke at his current level. Jaehyun knowing that was not the case as he was facing a C-rank boss monster. With his life on the line convinced himself that he could do it. To bolster his chances, he visits Lee Jae-sang, getting the mana enhancement pill. To his astonishment, the pill permanently increases his magic stat by an impressive 15 points. Jaehyun looking at Lee Jae-sang reflects on the possibility of seeking out another alchemist for a similar pill, musing that it would not have even been a mere 5 magic stat increase. Jaehyun telling Lee Jae-sang to rest, his preparations were complete with his newfound strength, he readies himself for his battle against the Nightshade. The anticipation builds as Jaehyun stands before the imposing entrance of the dungeon. He takes a moment to equip his Valkyrie set, a strategic move to unlock the mana extortion passive skill. As the pieces fall into place, he steps forward and crosses the threshold, finding himself once again in the eerie realm of Helheimer's Field of the Dead. Within this shadowy domain, Jaehyun senses the presence of the formidable Nightshade. He knows that defeating this formidable foe could be the key to reuniting with Hel and finally getting the answers he seeks from Loki and the Nornir. Jaehyun recalls the lessons imparted by Sonjian, who once told him that a successful battle mage did not exist. However, Sonjian sensing Jaehyun being different, as he carried a unique determination and strength within him. As his past feats were shown. Outside the dungeon's foreboding door, Park Sung-jae feels an unusual presence, a car driving down the path. He soon realizes that it's none other than Yeonju, someone he knew from another guild. Yeonju mentions her impromptu visit is to see to guild matters and check on Sung-jae. Skeptical, Sung-jae can't help but wonder if they've hired spies to monitor their activities. As since college she has not contacted him and would not travel a far distance to see him. Yet, Yeonju simply cryptically mentions that her guild has many resources at their disposal. Before parting ways, Yeonju seeks some information. She inquires about Sonjian's health, to which Sung-jae dismisses it as mere rumor. But Yeonju showing Sung-jae a picture of Jaehyun, asking if he knew him. Sung-jae tells her their affairs are not for outsiders to delve into. With that, Yeonju takes her leave, leaving Sung-jae pondering what could be the reason for her visit, knowing he would have to report such a matter to the higher-ups. Jaehyun stands at the precipice of destiny, facing the formidable Nightshade boss. Determination courses through him as he mutters to himself that this time, things will be different. With a grace that defies imagination, Jaehyun navigates the Nightshade's relentless onslaught of attacks. He counters with a ferocious lightning chain assault, but the boss remains resolute, seemingly unfazed. Jaehyun, undeterred, launches a critical strike aimed at the boss's eyes. The impact triggers an unexpected response. The Nightshade enters a berserk state, a surge of strength coursing through its dark form, making it 1.5 times more formidable. In the midst of this fierce battle, Jaehyun finds himself marked with the ominous stigma of death. The penalty of sudden death looms, ticking away ominously, giving him just 10 minutes to secure victory. Frustration and anger surge within him. He cries out to Hel, questioning why such interference is allowed. Could Hel truly be behind this ordeal? Without a moment to spare, Jaehyun rushes toward the boss, the weight of time bearing down on him. He contemplates his strategy, searching for the weak points in the Nightshade's defenses. But he was not so fortunate as the Nightshade ran away mocking him, knowing he was on a time limit that would lead to his death anyways. Jaehyun deciding to deprive the boss of its remaining vision, a calculated risk after his previous successful strike to its eyes, from the boss's attempt at instilling fear in him. He activates his wind boost skill, granting him unparalleled speed. The Nightshade attempts to retreat further, but Jaehyun has a different plan. With a swift motion, Jaehyun employs a flash bomb skill, momentarily blinding the Nightshade. Seizing this fleeting opportunity, he initiates his sacrifice skill, which transforms into Light's Judgment, an awe-inspiring attack that raises the surrounding monsters, with 3 seconds to spare before the sudden death penalty activates. In the climax of the battle, Jaehyun triumphs, vanquishing the dungeon boss. As the dust settles, he is rewarded with a new title, one who has overcome the first trial. Impressing, Hiel. As Jaehyun emerges victorious from the dungeon, the fruits of his labor come in the form of rewards. The spoils of battle are his, yet the story has more in store for him. Without warning, he's whisked away, finding himself in the hallowed halls of Hel's temple. Before him stands a towering, fearsome bear-like monster, poised to attack. But an unexpected command from Hel herself stays the creature's aggression. And instead, it's ordered to serve as Jaehyun's escort. In the presence of the enigmatic Hel, Jaehyun is met with congratulations for conquering the first trial. Grateful yet filled with questions, he doesn't hesitate to inquire about the purpose of his involvement with the Nornir system and the trials. Hel's response is cryptic yet compelling. She reveals that Jaehyun bears the weighty destiny of becoming a great enemy, one that is inherent to his very existence. He is meant to challenge Odin, the top god, in a cosmic struggle that will shape the fate of the world. Jaehyun grapples with the gravity of these revelations and the unsettling purpose thrust upon him. Hel makes it clear that their story isn't one of individual aspirations but a pivotal chapter in a greater saga. The world teeters on the brink of catastrophe as Odin seeks dominion over all. Suddenly, Jaehyun being returned to Earth as Hel tells him he will be needed, so he must get stronger as she was counting on him, he vanishes. Jaehyun gone, Hel then lets the person who was observing them know they can come out as she did not invite them to her hall, as Jaehyun wakes up. wrestling with his frustration at Hell's enigmatic responses and unresolved questions. He is left with a parting gift, a passive skill bestowed by Hell herself. This gift will nullify any abnormal status afflicting its user. The entity responding to Hell wanting to know what she thought of Jaehyun, also known as the Great Enemy. The figure was not convinced with her lackluster answer, sensing that she liked him. Hell smiling, admitting she actually did like him as he overcame, even when she placed more restraints on him. Hell calls out the figure, Mimir, for not also being truthful on his sudden appearance, as she also noticed Jaehyun's left eye being that of Odin's and discrepancies in the events that fate had mapped out for him. Hell asks Mimir to tell her what he and Loki were planning, but Mimir unable due to it being fate-bound. Hell decides that she would still proceed as she saw fit, knowing that Jaehyun's path would be riddled with many obstacles. He would need a guide. It's the first day at Milla's academy for Jaehyun, and he navigates the unfamiliar campus with a sense of intrigue and anticipation. The woman accompanying him notices something amiss in his demeanor and asks if anything is bothering him. Jaehyun dismisses her concern with a casual reply of nothing, but deep down, he knows there's something gnawing at him. As he reflects on the mysteries he encountered during his recent trials and how none of his questions were answered, he finds solace in one consolation, a newfound treasure, an X-rank passive skill. Though it may be considered off-grade by the standards of the Asur system, for half-Asur gods, it's a reward worth pursuing at great lengths. Observing his companion, a woman named Park Hannah from the Lotus Guild, Jaehyun is struck by the exorbitant price of the mana blade she purchases, a staggering 300 million won. As she scrolls through a list of items they need, he realizes that their shopping spree is far from over. In the spirit of camaraderie, Hannah introduces herself and offers Jaehyun a present, anticipating his imminent enrollment at Milla's academy. Jaehyun, content with his current equipment, declines the offer. Inwardly, he reflects on his concealed B-rank armor, a treasure that few could surpass. Hannah, curious about his mention of conceal, hints at the desirability of artifacts with concealing features for raiders. Jaehyun plays down his interest, remarking that such skills are rare and often acquired by luck in dungeons. Hannah concurs, revealing that the only other raider in Korea with the conceal skill is her brother, manager Park Sung-jae. The name catches Jaehyun's attention, but before he can inquire further, he is once again drawn to a distant gleam of light from the treasure gate. In this moment, Jaehyun acquires the active skill, detection, a boon that promises to be invaluable on his path. The scene shifts to a fierce duel whereon Hoyeon emerges as the victor. Hailed as the future S-rank raider due to his unmatched intellect in battles. Yet, beneath the accolades, Hoyeon grapples with a growing discontent, yearning for a different raider's life, a life with meaning beyond mere mechanics. Hoyeon's father indulges in buying him various items, presumably gearing up for his son's promising future as a raider. However, when Hoyeon brings up his mother's hospital fees for the month, his father brushes it off, making it clear that this financial burden is now solely Hoyeon's responsibility. As they stroll through the bustling streets, Hoyeon can't help but notice the way people look at him. He feels like an exhibit in a zoo, exposed and scrutinized by curious onlookers. These eyes upon him are no different from the years he spent as his father's tool. In the depths of his memory, he revisits a time when he was a young child, his awakening bringing a warm smile to his mother's face as she affectionately patted his head. In those days, he was the ray of hope that shone in their impoverished and bleak existence. However, this ray of hope was ruthlessly manipulated by his father, molding him into a machine obedient to every command. Suddenly, a cacophonous commotion breaks out near the mall. An unexpected dungeon break unleashes demons upon the unsuspecting crowd. Panic ensues as people scramble to escape the impending danger. Hoyeon's father nonchalantly dismisses the chaos, emphasizing that getting injured here would put him at a disadvantage during the upcoming Milla's entrance event. There's no need, he implies, to involve himself in this situation. Yet, within Hoyeon's heart, a different conviction begins to stir. He reflects on those who are unable to defend themselves and recognizes this as an opportunity to prove his worthiness and assert his independence as a raider. He envisions the child he once was, the child he longed to show his mother. Moments later, he finds himself confronting a group of goblins, his heart pounding with fear and trepidation. In the face of these low-ranking demons, he feels paralyzed, unable to act. Just as a menacing demon is about to strike, a sudden savior arrives. Jaehyun intervenes, rescuing Hoyeon from the imminent threat. Moments prior, Jaehyun was analyzing an item he had purchased that would increase the effectiveness of his detection skill. Mistiltine, an item that would grant the user the ability to detect magical power. But hearing an announcement that a dungeon break had appeared close by, Jaehyun breaks through the glass of the mall, leaving Hannah behind, landing on top of the goblins. Making his way through the goblins swiftly, he then arrived at the stunned Hoi-Yan. Jaehyun, aware of Hoi-Yan, also known as the unfortunate genius, he tells him they would need to team up to take on the goblin. Jaehyun then telling him to grab his weapon as he could not battle while on the floor. Hoi-Yan becomes motivated looking at Jaehyun, who he thought to be a true raider. Jaehyun, now teamed up with Hoi-Yan, takes charge of the situation. He directs Hoi-Yan to use his aggravation skill, which lures nearby enemies. Hoi-Yan activates the cry of aggravation skill, leaving Jaehyun impressed by its higher level compared to the standard aggravation skill. He recognizes Hoi-Yan's talent despite his past limitations. He believes that his newfound strength is a result of overcoming. Hoi-Yan had struggled to reach B rank due to his weak mentality, thus giving him the nickname Unfortunate Genius. However, Jaehyun, now aware of his determination, cared little about his previous shortcomings. They efficiently dispatch the goblins and complete the task. Soon after, a representative from the National Raider Association's management headquarters, Park Jae-hoon, arrives. He notices on Hoi-Yan's presence and inquires about their accomplishment. Jaehyun, not wanting to draw attention to himself, introduces Hoi-Yan as part of the reward, and to not reveal the extent of his contributions. However, Hoi-Yan insists that Jaehyun should get the credit since he was the one who defeated all the goblins. Jaehyun, with his own motives in mind, refuses, fearing the consequences of attracting unwanted attention before he enters Milla's. He knows that his path has taken a different direction since his regression, and he must keep this fact hidden. The consequences of exposure are too uncertain, and he is determined to exact his revenge discreetly. Hoi-Yan grapples with the decision, feeling conflicted about accepting credit for something he didn't fully accomplish. He acknowledges that the money could help improve his mother's condition. Jaehyun offers his guidance, helping Hoi-Yan weigh the pros and cons, and ultimately, Hoi-Yan accepts the recognition. The representative from the Raider Association, impressed with Jaehyun's social skills, regards him as an extraordinary individual. Hoi-Yan asks Jaehyun for his name and contact information, but Jaehyun declines, citing their shared journey to Milla's and their similar ages as reasons there's no need for formalities. As they part ways, Jaehyun's thoughts are turned towards Milla's academy's first day, seeing Seo Aina, another person he would like to add to his group, but deciding it would be best to give it time with the allies he has already made. His thoughts interrupted by a familiar face, Kim Yu-young. He also silently vowed to protect her this time. The official start of Milla's approaches as Chairman Gu Jaein introduces himself to the students. Jaehyun's memories of a past event involving Kim Yu-young resurface, and he encourages her to stay strong, reminding her that anything can happen at Milla's. She responds with determination, and Jaehyun silently promises to ensure her safety. Just as the chairman prepares to commence the ceremony, he surprises everyone by initiating a special event, a game called Student Hunt. In this game, students must attempt to steal each other's name cards within an enclosed space, setting the stage for an unpredictable challenge. Sonjian and Sunjae discussing Jaehyun's first day at the academy, knowing he would not be contactable for 3 days as the challenge was taking place. Sonjian had wished to send him a good luck message, but Sunjae saying he did on her behalf a day prior. She inquired into his response. And as we are taken to the start of the challenge, Jaehyun encountering Seo Aina, knowing her to be a pivotal shift in what people knew of mages. As she was the next S rank after Sonjian, Sunjae told her his response, saying to not worry, making Seonhyun smile. Inside the central control room of Milla's academy, discussions revolve around a few exceptionally talented cadets. Chairman Gu Jaein, however, dismisses the notion that such whimsical individuals can thrive in this demanding environment. He emphasizes that typical talents merely serve as stepping stones for true geniuses, and there's no room to offer opportunities to those who cannot prove themselves. The chairman explains the concept of reawakening, where an awakened individual facing a formidable enemy or death may receive a second chance. He underscores the necessity of training one exceptional A rank raider, even if it means sacrificing 100 C rank raiders in the process. In this academy, raiders must continually demonstrate their mettle, and those who fail simply couldn't prove themselves. Chairman Gu's role is to identify and nurture exceptional talents to present them to him. Meanwhile, Jaehyun reflects on the upcoming student hunt, set to take place in a man-made demi-plane with unique properties. Inside this magical space, the impossible becomes possible, from controlling time flow to removing spatial limitations. Jaehyun is cautious, especially with Seo Aina participating. Chairman Gu briefs the students on the event's rules, explaining that they can only use C-rank skills or lower and earn points by stealing someone's name tag. He reassures them that injuries are unlikely since their usual powers are reduced to 1/10 of their strength. Jaehyun suspects the chairman's true intentions, to sift through the weak and select the talented. With 3 days ahead of them, Jaehyun urges Yu-young to move quickly. He knows the trials involve traps that inflict debuffs, including a healing pond, the nightmare forest, and ecosystems providing food and shelter, with the latter being the most critical. Yu-young suggests inviting Seo Aina to join them, believing that having one more person would be advantageous. Jaehyun, however, has reservations about Seo Aina. He remembers her loss of control in anger, which endangered many lives. He fears she may betray them. Yu-young insists, comparing Seo Aina to Jaehyun when they were younger, as she runs over inviting her to join them. Suddenly, 2 senior students appear. One of them possesses the ability to detect Jaehyun but senses nothing from him. Yu-young suggests escaping, but Jaehyun believes they must confront the seniors. They won't be able to escape these pursuers, particularly the woman Kwon Soil with the unique skill that can locate any target within a 300-kilometer radius. Jaehyun decides they must defeat them here to prevent them from rounding up more seniors. The other senior Shin Junsang prepares to attack, ignoring the woman's warning about Jaehyun, but Jaehyun effortlessly dodges his attacks and destroys his weapon. Jaehyun swiftly issues his orders to the senior, commanding him to leave his name tag behind and depart within a mere 3 seconds. The senior, realizing the severity of the situation, complies. In an instant, Jaehyun eliminates him and claims the senior's name tag, earning himself a significant reward of 100,000 points. Inside the control room, the unexpected outcome raises concerns among the observers. They hadn't anticipated someone like Jaehyun achieving the first elimination. Meanwhile, Kwon Soil finds herself facing a 3-against-1 situation. She sets her sights on Yu-young, recognizing it as her best option. However, this strategy would only work against an ordinary individual, and Yu-young was far from that. Kwon Soil distracted, Jaehyun knew Yu-young would still need help to finish her off. But Seo Aina, utilizing her unique skill, quickly dispatches Kwon Soil, saving Yu-young from harm. Yu-young expresses her gratitude, to which Seo Aina casually asks if her previous offer to join their party is still valid. Jaehyun takes note of Seo Aina's characteristics: taciturn, distrusting, and curious. With their trio now officially formed, they continue their journey together. The other seniors, aware of their fellow members' elimination, were angered, as it was known as the 3-day new student hunt. Attempting to track down Jaehyun's party, Yu-young had already spotted their group, attacking one of them, and then makes a quick escape, taunting them. The scene transitions to a shelter, showing that this strategic approach of hunting seniors to gain points is part of their plan. Returning to Yu-young, who has made it to the paralysis spore mushroom habitat, fulfilling her part in the mission, Jaehyun was now to take over. Jaehyun approaches Lee Jae-sang seeking advice on dealing with paralysis spore mushrooms, a critical matter before the student hunt event. Lee Jae-sang suggests using ash tree sap as it might be the most effective solution. Some senior students express concern over the danger of this approach and decide to abandon the chase. However, one persistent senior remained determined. The others, deciding to also enter, determined to pay Yu-young back for eliminating their fellow seniors, they leave one senior outside the paralysis radius to keep watch while they proceed to track down Yu-young. Inside the radius, they encounter Yu-young as she deliberately triggers the paralysis spore mushroom. In an earlier scene, Jaehyun is shown collecting something from a tree into a vial. He then asks if everyone knows how to use the skill change, which allows one to switch locations with a chosen ally. It turns out the substance he collected is ash tree sap. As the mushroom spores explode, Yu-young swiftly changes locations with Jaehyun and attacks one of the seniors. The senior mentions having stationed a companion outside to prepare for such a situation, but it appears Seo Aina has already taken care of him. Despite both Yu-young and the seniors being paralyzed, Jaehyun remains mobile, with Hell's blessing handling the situation adeptly, eliminating all of them, impressing the lady in the control room once again. Afterward, Seo Aina and Yu-young consume the ash tree sap and discuss Jaehyun's unexpected skills and knowledge, shocking Seo Aina, especially finding out about Jaehyun's sudden switch from martial arts to a mage. They then head to the agreed upon meet-up point. Jaehyun, seeing them, inquires into how everything turned out on their end. And as they reply saying everything went smoothly, Jaehyun and Yu-young start jesting with each other. But Seo Inha, staring at Jaehyun, felt a bit smitten but decided to push the thought aside, adhering to caution. In the aftermath of their recent encounters, Seo Aina asks Jaehyun what he's making, and he explains that it's a stamina recovery potion he learned from an older acquaintance. Seo Aina expresses her admiration for Jaehyun's knowledge and maturity, making it seem as if he's a decade older than his actual age. Jaehyun reflects on her keen intuition, appreciating how she gauged the time frame correctly. Yu-young volunteers to handle the cooking duties, but Jaehyun is content with a meal of just fruits. He playfully reminds Yu-young about the purple cookies she once made in middle school, prompting a discussion about her culinary skills. Seo Ina offers to prepare a meal herself, sharing that she lived alone with her grandmother and cooked for them every day. Jaehyun, thinking of the lack of information on Seo Inha's family in the future while she cooks, the finished meal impressing Yu-young and Jaehyun with the taste. Seo Inha was glad, thinking she has not felt like this in a while. Meanwhile, in the control room, there is discussion about how the first and second place contestants are both mages, which raises suspicions of a possible system error. They review the footage of the paralysis spore mushrooms, and the chairman is amazed by Jaehyun's quick thinking and decisive actions, especially when dealing with a martial arts class opponent. The revelation that they are new students and mages shocks them, and they contemplate creating an interesting story around the situation. Gu Jian, then finding out Jaehyun's magic class aptitude is a staggering 97%. A sinister look takes over his face, telling the others to go ahead in creating that interesting story. Back with Jaehyun's party, they now have a total of 1,100,000 points. Yu-young questions why they should leave the shelter, but Jaehyun believes that students are too afraid to venture into the forest of nightmares. Seo Ina shares that the highest recorded score in a new student hunt is 1,140,000 points, showing her competitive spirit. As they are about to depart, they are unexpectedly attacked by An Hoi-yan, but he appears to be possessed. Jaehyun suspects that this may be the work of Gu Jian. He recalls the traumatic events of the Milla's Academy Festival, a day meant to be a joyful memory for young students that turned into a tragedy. Gu Jian's inherent skill of brainwashing led him to commit a heinous crime, causing chaos and suffering before disappearing. This day also marked Kim Yoo-jung's sacrifice to save Jaehyun. As the group confronts An Hoi-yan, a subquest suddenly appears, tasking Jaehyun with saving the student under the influence of brainwashing magic, with a black card as the reward. Jaehyun quickly gives the order for his teammates to run as far as they can while earning points in the process. Seo Ina, despite Hoyan's martial arts prowess, trusts Jaehyun's judgment implicitly. Yu-young reluctantly follows along. Looking in on Hoyan's performance during the student hunt, he was performing well, but upon looking in on Jaehyun and his team's impressive standing, he wanted to do better. However, his positive demeanor was abruptly interrupted when the chairman appears and subjects him to brainwashing. Hoi-yan becoming an unwitting attacker against Jaehyun, whose heightened skills make it challenging to recognize him. Jaehyun contemplates using his absolute calculation skill to break the brainwashing but hesitates due to the presence of an observer. The woman beside the chairman watches the battle unfold, believing it to be nearly impossible for a magic class student to defeat a martial arts class opponent. However, to her surprise, Jaehyun was outclassing Hoi-yan, making her unable to fathom a mage being so capable against a martial artist. Managing to secure a victory and activates his flash bomb skill, momentarily obscuring the vision of those monitoring the events from the control room. Realizing that Jaehyun used a skill to block their vision, the chairman orders instructor Kim Suk-ji to summon Jaehyun to his office after the conclusion of the event, believing Jaehyun wanting to demonstrate his value to all those watching. Jaehyun swiftly employs his absolute calculation skill to counteract Hoi-yan's brainwashing effect. As Hoi-yan attempts to stand, his body betrays him, causing him to fall. Jaehyun informs Hoi-yan that he was the one who attacked him and explains the manipulated mental magic behind it. Hoi-yan struggles to recall the incident and vaguely remembers hearing a voice. He remarks that such magic is typically beyond A rank, and he thought there were restrictions in place to prevent the use of skills above C rank. Hoi-yan inquires if Jaehyun has any suspicions about who might be responsible, but Jaehyun has no leads. He thought that as Hoi-yan navigates through everything at Milla's, he will come to understand the nature of Gu Jian. Jaehyun receives a blank card as a reward for his efforts, and Hoi-yan, though defeated, hands over his nameplate. He expresses his determination to defeat Jaehyun at the Milla's Academy Festival and reclaim his nameplate. Jaehyun relishes the pleasant feeling of being acknowledged by a talented martial artist, believing it marks his progress, and continues on his journey. With the 72-hour new student hunt coming to an end, they are transported back to the real world. Jaehyun reflects that their point total of 1,530,000 isn't too shabby. Yu-young points out that it's a record-breaking amount and suggests they celebrate, but even Seo Ina is slightly disappointed, thinking they could have reached 1.6 million with just one more hour. Jaehyun calculates that when multiplied by 10, their points are equivalent to a substantial sum of real-life money, and there are bonus points as well, totaling 1 million. However, as they celebrate, Jaehyun can't help but feel self-conscious under the gaze of others. Instructor Kim Suk-ji then informs them that he has something to discuss with the three of them elsewhere, Jaehyun telling him it was the chief's director's office. Kim Suk-ji replies saying Chairman Gu Jian would like to see them. With Jaehyun and his party off to see the chairman, comment what you think will happen next. For more videos like this, check the channel out, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. The atmosphere in the meeting room was tense as Chief Director Gu Jian arrived late. Seo Aina and Kim Ju-young wasted no time introducing themselves, but Jaehyun, ever the straightforward one, didn't mince words. He pointedly mentioned that he had almost fallen asleep while waiting for Gu Jian. Chairman Gu, in his usual composed manner, began by extending his congratulations to the trio. He then proceeded to make them a tempting offer. First, they would receive free accommodation in Millis Academy's luxurious dormitory suite rooms. Second, they would enjoy priority access to all Millis facilities. And third, they could even retake any test offered by Millis. Jaehyun, however, wasn't one to be easily swayed, denying the offer. He took the contract out of the chairman's hand and scrutinized it carefully. Something about the chairman's offer didn't sit right with him. It felt less like a reward and more like an attempt to take advantage of them. Kim and Seo Aina shared Jaehyun's skepticism and promptly declined the chairman's offer. Gu, on the other hand, was determined to have them accept. In an attempt to persuade Jaehyun, he unleashed his brainwashing skill, a formidable ability that had worked on many in the past. But Jaehyun was different. His passive skill kicked in, resisting the brainwashing attempt. Instead, he seized the opportunity and activated his blank card, copying Gu's brainwashing skill. With a newfound advantage in his arsenal. Jaehyun then leaving with Seo Aina and Ju-young, Gu kicks instructor Kim Suk out, then begins to smile sinisterly, amazed that Jaehyun resisted his skill. Jaehyun now walking back with Seo Aina and Ju-young discussing their collective decision to turn down the headmaster's contract. They pointed an unsettling feeling surrounding the headmaster. Seo Aina inquiring from Jaehyun if he knew anything, as she noticed he got tense whenever in his presence. He replied he could not confirm anything, but advised them to not trust anyone, including him. Then departing from each other to prepare for their first day of classes, Jaehyun arrived at his dorm room faced with the horrid feelings from his past in the school, deciding not to repeat that hellish fate. He would find another place to stay. Jaehyun, after morning training, proceeds to his first class, encountering an instructor he had no recollection of in his past life. Knowing soon that many teachers would quit Millis Academy, due to Gu fostering an environment for corruption amongst the teachers. Instructor Kim Ji-yeon, ready to begin, she introduced herself with a stern demeanor, making it clear that they were about to undergo a rigorous test of their mana sensitivity. Jaehyun, familiar with the test due to the similarities with the mana cube. This one would not present the same challenge. As Kim Ji-yeon explained, the test would get progressively harder with each mana room they enter, with newer students stopping around the 3rd room and graduates making it all the way to the 7th room. The test started as the students began entering the 1st room. Instructor Ji-yeon addressing the students, urging them to raise their hands if they encountered any issues during the testing process. In the initial stages, during the 1st level, there were no students who faced any problems. All seemed to be progressing smoothly. As they moved on to the 2nd level, a few students began to raise their hands, indicating that they were encountering difficulties. The 3rd level proved to be more challenging, with about half of the students signaling that they were facing issues with the test. By the time they reached the 6th level, only a select few remained unaffected. Among them were Kim Yu-young, Seo Aina, Jaehyun, and Lee Soo-hyuk. These were the students who had excelled in the new student hunt, and their presence in this group indicated their exceptional abilities. However, as the testing continued, the atmosphere in the rooms began to feel increasingly suffocating. When they reached the 8th level, even Kim Yu-young and Soo-hyuk found themselves struggling, raising their hands to signal their difficulties. It was in the 9th level that a more alarming development occurred. Seo Aina, who had shown great promise, suddenly collapsed, unable to continue with the test. Her unexpected setback left a somber mood in the room. Jaehyun, however, unfazed. He pressed on into the 10th level, undeterred by the challenges that lay ahead. Instructor Ji-yeon inquired about his progress, feeling the effects of the 10th room herself. Jaehyun told her it was becoming demanding, but Ji-yeon could not indicate anything suggesting he was struggling. The test over, instructor Ji-yeon announced Jaehyun's impressive accomplishment of making it to the 10th room equivalent to a B rank raider. She told the other students to use it as motivation in their own journeys. Jaehyun inquiring into Seo Aina's condition, he was relieved to hear that her sudden collapse had been attributed to normal mana poisoning effects. Yet, for Jaehyun, it had felt strangely like a compulsion, raising questions in his mind about the changes in the futures of the people he was getting acquainted with. He decided it would be best to prepare as soon as possible with the rapidly changing conditions. In the midst of this contemplation, a playful impulse overcame him during a light-hearted exchange with Kim Yu-young. Jaehyun couldn't resist messing up her hair, a moment of carefree camaraderie amongst friends. But not everyone in their circle was entirely convinced by Jaehyun's seemingly carefree demeanor. Lee Soo-hyuk couldn't help but sense an enigmatic undercurrent beneath Jaehyun's cheerful facade, leaving him intrigued and wary. Now the nighttime, Jaehyun received a call from Sung-jian, knowing she would like to hear from him about the student hunt. Jaehyun, aware she could have already guessed his first-place ranking. He received praise on securing amazing accommodations for himself as a new student. Jaehyun, glad with her statement, did not expect himself to place first. And Sung-jian, intrigued as to potential recruits for her guild, offered him a reward for mentioning such people. Jaehyun then mentioning Seo Aina, Kim Yoo-young, An Hoi-yeon, and Lee Jae-sang, each carrying the promise of untapped potential to be Lotus Guild recruits. Baek Ji-hyun, the esteemed guild master of the Curators Guild, made a surprise appearance in Sung-jian's office after ending her call with Jaehyun. Her visit was prompted by a specific inquiry, one that held the potential to reshape Jaehyun's destiny. She sought to uncover the price tag for the student she had been fostering, a student who happened to be none other than Jaehyun himself. Sung-jian stood her ground, firmly rejecting Baek Ji-hyun's proposal. She made it abundantly clear that she did not view the members of her guild as mere commodities, to be bought or sold like items on a market. With a resolute tone, Sung-jian reiterated her commitment to valuing her guild members for more than their monetary worth. After delivering this unwavering message, Baek Ji-hyun departs Sung-jian's office, revealing she expected her request to be denied, but came to ask as a polite gesture, like any merchant would. Jaehyun, going over his physical capabilities ranking, upset at his second-place result behind An Hoi-yeon. Jaehyun, knowing second place was not horrible, he needed to become stronger, aware of the future foes he would encounter. Kim Yoo-young then addressing him, confused on his second-place result being a mage, they bicker back and forth. While the observing instructor also held the same confusion as to Jaehyun's results. The announcement of the second physical capability test, they were to enter the AR room for evasion training. Each student was equipped with a receiver device that would immerse them in a virtual reality exercise. In a twist of fate, Jaehyun found himself grouped with Soo-hyuk and 4 formidable brawlers. The anticipation and tension in the air were palpable, especially between Jaehyun and Soo-hyuk. Soo-hyuk couldn't help but question how a student from the magic class had managed to rise to the pinnacle, suggesting it to be a trick he would like to learn as well. Jaehyun's cold demeanor towards Soo-hyuk's suggestions of him, they set the stage for a clash of abilities and egos. Tensions high between Jaehyun and Soo-hyuk, further fueled by the enigmatic presence of Soo-hyuk. It was a source of bewilderment for Soo-hyuk, who couldn't wrap his mind around how Jaehyun, a student from the magic class, had managed to clinch the top spot in the highly competitive new student hunt and physical capabilities test. The flames of competition burned fiercely among them, casting an aura of challenge and unease over their interactions. As the test kicked off, everyone watched in astonishment as Jaehyun, a magical student, fearlessly sprinted towards the skeleton soldiers. His audacity left the onlookers in awe as Jaehyun flawlessly cleared the skeletons, then proceeded to clear all the way to level 10 of the AR evasion test entirely on his own, without a hint of struggle. The remarkable feat achieved by a mage like Jaehyun left the students questioning the boundaries of possibility. In the aftermath of this astonishing display, Soo-hyuk couldn't suppress his suspicions and accused Jaehyun of foul play, insinuating that cheating must have played a role in his success. The accusation hung in the air, deepening the rift between them. Amidst the tension and rivalry, Soo-hyuk decided to issue a direct challenge to Jaehyun, proposing a showdown during the upcoming Milis Academy festival. However, Jaehyun's response was unexpected. He declined the offer, stating he had made other plans. The test over on Hoi-yeon, in his dorm, pondering the rivalry Jaehyun expressed between them, he could not afford to relax, wanting to train until he could compare as a real opponent against Jaehyun. Meanwhile, the instructor returning to inform the chairman of the physical abilities result, he could not help but wonder how Jaehyun was so capable, as he arrived in the chairman's office, who was eagerly awaiting to hear the results. Gu, hearing of Jaehyun's continuous impressive feats, could not help his sinister expression, as he told instructor Kim to continue keeping eyes on him during their next event. Jaehyun pushed himself to the limit and managed to clear the level 27 AR evasion test, surpassing his previous achievements. This an important accomplishment, as next they would be likely practicing in dungeons. He could not help but recall the tragedies of this previous event. With his other party members losing their lives, the resentment he faced from that point on from the other Milis students. Unable to leave, wanting to make his mother proud, he couldn't help but wonder if this second chance would lead to a different destiny, but he was determined to not repeat the mistakes of his past for a better future. After his mock dungeon practice lecture, Jaehyun, hearing the unease Kim Yoo-young and Seo Aina felt towards entering the dungeons, attempted to ease their minds, then generously gave them potions. As they thanked him, he was lost in thought with the conviction of overcoming the dungeon through his own skills and not luck like previously. The day of the mock battle upon Jaehyun, he was warming up his magical abilities, using his knowledge of their benefits for an optimal performance. but a new main quest notification appearing before him, with the option of repeating the events from his past self or choosing a whole new route. The weight of this decision bore heavily on him. The dungeon test about to start, Jaehyun hearing they would face low-level monsters. He could not help but recall his previous life with the appearance of the boss-level monsters. But Jaehyun able to easily defeat the boss monsters this time around, his main objective was to exploit a mistake the chairman would make, giving him an opening to take his life. The instructor announcing the groups, Jaehyun found himself grouped with Seo Aina. But Jaehyun shocked seeing Kim Jina and Park Songhwa, the members who joined him in his previous life. He realized the path the Nornir system was choosing for him all along. Introductions taking place, Jaehyun could not help recall the similar personalities from Kim Jina and Park Songhwa. Introductions finished, they started planning out their dungeon expedition, and once they were finished, Jaehyun insisted they stick to the plan no matter what occurred, and everyone in agreement. The instructor announced the start. Walking to the dungeon's entrance, Jaehyun glanced over at Yoojung's party, glad with An Hoyen's presence ensuring Yoojung's safety. As the groups entered their respective dungeons, An Hoyen and Kim Yoojung's group making their way through the dungeon, are suddenly surrounded by a group of monsters. Utilizing their skills, they are able to overcome the low-level monsters without any injuries, but Siho suddenly in a state of panic, everyone heart sinks with the appearance of a kobold. Meanwhile, Jaehyun and his group exploring the dungeon making small talk, they enter a room Jaehyun did not remember from his previous life, thinking the chairman had a hand in it, but unable to dwell in the thought sensing the kobold's presence. Jaehyun announced the appearance of a strong opponent, warning them to stay cautious. As the kobolds and his underlings emerge, sudden panic spreads across the party. Park Songwoo distracted, Jaehyun rushed past, punching the underling in the stomach. But Jaehyun laughing hysterically with the kobold lord regenerating, a special quest pops up, Crow Hunter. The instructor outside pondering how Jaehyun, a student, could do things herself as an A-rank mage could not do, she concluded he would come out on top of this competition. But the dungeon doors suddenly opening and An Hoyen's group rushing out to report their encounter with the kobold lord, the instructor was in disbelief. Yu Young then inquiring if Jaehyun's group had returned, worry spreads with the response they have not, especially knowing Seo Aina and Jaehyun should have returned by now. Kim Ji-yeon placing a call to the chairman reporting the boss-level monster in the dungeon, she requested for support. But witnessing the chairman on the other end responding he would, eeriness surrounded him, even causing Kim Ji-yeon to feel anxious. Jaehyun's party seen struggling with the regenerative kobold boss, Jaehyun the only one standing. The Nornir system identified the kobold being affected by Odin's raven. Odin in possession of two ravens, Hugin the collector of emotion and thought and Munin the collector of memories. They collected knowledge for Odin's rule over Asgard. Jaehyun presented with this realization thought running away would be best. But his determination to not make the same mistakes of his past, he told his other party members to flee the dungeon so he could fight properly. But Jaehyun distracted about to be hit by the kobold, Seo Aina puts up a barrier protecting him, expressing she would like to remain. Jaehyun witnessing her conviction, the other two members of their group heeded Jaehyun's advice, racing to find instructor Ji-yeon and deliver the urgent news. The battle commencing, Seo Aina supporting Jaehyun, he noticed the kobold's body melting from the immense amount of mana being poured into it. Activating his skill revealing a hand controlling the kobold, he was ready to fight. Also in that moment, Odin's raven Hugin returned reporting the location of Mistiltine, which was currently in Jaehyun's possession, known as the Great Enemy. The other gods discussing losing Baldur due to Mistiltine in the previous war, Odin orders Hugin to find out if he had made contact with the Asur's resistance. Meanwhile, Chairman Gu Jaehyun and instructor Kim Suk discussing their hand in Jaehyun's current predicament. Gu revealed his ties with the Asur and Odin, waiting for Jaehyun's defeat. Jaehyun's battle against the Kobold Lord forcing him to rely on Seo Ayane's help, even as they were both aware it could come at the cost of her life. Jaehyun couldn't help but wonder why Seo Aina was willing to risk her life to help him in this dangerous battle, potentially succumbing to mana rebound. Yet, she remained steadfast in her support. But Jaehyun unable to dwell on the fact, with Seo Aina providing cover, Jaehyun rushed towards the Kobold Lord, determined to put an end to the threat. Showcasing his amazing mana control, Jaehyun leaps over the kobold seeing the mana threads the raven was using to control it. The raven immediately tugging on the threads to attack Jaehyun. He swiftly dodges severing the connection taking the kobold's life. With the connection severed, Jaehyun approaches the raven asking it Odin's goal. But Jaehyun seeing the raven's necklace, aware the chairman having an identical symbol. He poses another question to the raven wanting to know his involvement, but realizing the raven could not respond, Jaehyun ends it. In the midst of returning to Seo Aina, their bodies get corrupted from mana. But Jaehyun's body able to repel his mana corruption, he completed the raven request receiving 5 stat points, a blank card and going up 1 level. But Jaehyun getting a notification of his party member's life in danger, he sees Seo Aina collapsed on the floor suffering from mana corruption. Seo Aina woke up, surprised to find that her health and mana had fully recovered. Jaehyun, sitting nearby, suggested that they needed to ensure their stories matched up. Meanwhile, back outside the dungeon, Kim Yoo-young was furious that only 2 of Jaehyun's group had returned, fearing the worst. As Jaehyun and Seo Aina finally emerged, Kim Yoo-young rushed over and hugged them tightly, overwhelmed with relief. Jaehyun took a moment to express his gratitude to his 2 groupmates for placing their trust in them. He explained to the others he had asked them to leave and seek help from their instructor, so he asked for the others to not insult them. A flashback inside the dungeon, Jaehyun revealed to Seo Aina that he was the one who had healed her. He then revealed the chairman's involvement in the appearance of the kobold boss, and his tool-like perception of the students. But Seo Aina, ever so intuitive, inquired how Jaehyun knew such information. Jaehyun, concerned, telling her he could not currently reveal that information at the expense of her life. They are back to the present where the instructor is apologizing for the situation. Jaehyun leaving, telling her it was okay. The main quest was cleared, stating Jaehyun opted for Route B, earning Eden's golden apple. Chairman Gu scolding Kim Suk for not dealing with Jaehyun. He made it known that Kim Suk had better control Jaehyun in the next event or deal with the consequences. Jaehyun, having returned from the dungeon, finished taking a shower, thought it best to not meddle in Seo Ina's life, as without his assistance she became successful on her own. Turning on the television, a new segment had stirred a long-forgotten memory within him: theme dungeons. These unique dungeons could be cleared by either defeating the boss, or step into the shoes of a character within the dungeon, immersing themselves in their adventures, clearing their requirements. Jaehyun, reminded of the theme dungeons, thought of the rare items inside, especially God's arrangement, which was sought after by many raiders. Jaehyun, glancing at the golden apple he was rewarded, thinking of the amazing anti-aging and natural healing abilities and 2 super rare stats. It was unfortunate his system prevented him from giving it away, so while he calculated all his loot, he recalled there being an appearance of an A-rank theme park soon, in which he could obtain boots that would greatly increase his dexterity. But the thought quickly ending as Jaehyun eats the golden apple, amazed with the results. He immediately heads out, introducing himself to a clerk at the amusement park as Min Jaehyun of the Lotus Guild, followed up by saying a theme dungeon would appear here soon. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-yeon, just finding out of Jaehyun's absence, was impressed at his resilience, especially to inform her if he returned. She gets outside, reporting to a man named Song Jiseok, confirming to this mysterious man of Chairman Gu's involvement in the dungeon. He ordered her to remain investigating, but before the conversation ends she reveals Jaehyun holding potential knowledge of the chairman. Jaehyun venturing through the theme park, hearing the emergency announcement to exit the park. We see a flashback of his conversation with Son Jian, who trusted his intuition of the appearing theme park dungeon, allowing him to use the Lotus Guild's name. But a condition attached. Son Jian told Jaehyun to prioritize his safety, as dungeons were always wild cards. Return to the present, the surroundings have started changing and the Nornir system announces the appearance of the theme dungeon, Neverland in Ruins. Other system alerts stating a special reward would be gifted for 3 consecutive quests cleared. Jaehyun thought back to the girl who beat the dungeon in his previous life. A bit of a know-it-all, her oversharing of her abilities led her to face a tragic ending. But Jaehyun, now here stating to be the better candidate of the boots, he starts the first mission. Entering the Viking dungeon, Jaehyun found himself in the body of Thjalfi, a Viking warrior, his goal to save his younger brother and sister, diminishing his resentment. Thjalfi memories flashing through Jaehyun's mind. Once a normal human who came to hate the Asur gods for their followers murdering his siblings. He came to be Thor's servant and the fastest amongst the realms. Jaehyun, confused, recalling this to not be the original story. His character name is suddenly yelled, waking him up. Jaehyun, taking in his surroundings, his ship was suddenly boarded by Thjalfi's enemies, opting to look for Roskva later. He leaps into the air, standing on the helm of the ship, immediately laughed at by the enemies for revealing himself. Jaehyun was shocked seeing Roskva, Thjalfi's sister and also the self-proclaimed genius girl from his past, Seo Ah. Few minutes before the dungeon appeared, Seo Ah ran the numbers for a possible dungeon appearance. Concluding it was unlikely, she decided to stay in the theme park, shocked when the dungeon emerged. As she quickly ran through looking for a raid team, she stumbled upon Jaehyun. Interested by him, she follows. Back with Jaehyun, thinking this could have not been happening, he is attacked by a swarm of arrows. Easily destroying the arrows and enemies behind them, he began swiftly making his way through the rest. While thinking his best course of action would be to use Seo Ah, having no other choice. With all the enemies taken care of, he approached Seo Ah, who was pretending to be unconscious. He punches the wall beside her head, warning her to behave. First mission of Thjalfi's grudge completed, Jaehyun and Seo Ah sat down analyzing each other. Jaehyun then questioning Seo Ah, attempting to get her to confess her cognition accelerant ability. She only reveals her D-rank swordsmanship skill. Jaehyun then standing up, telling her she was untrustworthy. Seo Ah, knowing she would not be able to survive alone. He draws up a contract ensuring his safety, while also protecting her during the dungeon. As she signed the contract, it was revealed even after the quest the contract would still be active, and Jaehyun taunting her to break the contract if she did not like it they continue. Meanwhile, at Hell's temple, Jaehyun being watched. Hell was glad with Jaehyun's tenacity to improve, but requiring more time before she intervened, she told the person to continue acting as her eyes. Jaehyun telling Seo they would be headed to the haunted mansion next. Seo played the role of the cameraman while Jaehyun assumed the persona of a horror streamer. Exposed in an eerie environment, Alfred the butler suddenly appears behind them. Sent by Countess Flandier to be their escort. With a very respectful demeanor, he escorts them to the dining room, where they see a young picture of the Countess with her dog. Continuing down the gloomy halls, Seo was evidently scared as they arrived in the dining room. Alfred then taking his leave stating they should eat. Jaehyun said they should explore gathering information. Seo activating her cognition accelerant ability scans the mansion uncovering various things. She deduced the Countess was not an older lady but likely 12 years old like the painting they passed. Pointing out numerous reasons throughout the mansion to back up her claim. Jaehyun told her it was time to move on. But as he reached the door unable to open it, they were locked in. Outside the dungeon, media personnel and people from the National Raiders Association were gathered. Park Jae-hoon and Song Ji-seok discussing the blowback from the incident, concluding the dungeon would not be completed. Park Jae-hoon checking the students who entered saw Jaehyun's picture shocked, startling Song Ji-seok who asked if they were more inside. He said there was a possibility for the dungeon to be cleared. Seo panicking discovering they could not leave the room, Jaehyun told her to remain calm as all dungeons were escapable. As she goes off to look around and Jaehyun pondering over their situation. Seo calls him over showing him a video taken on the camera. Alfred the butler seen dead, meaning the person who escorted them was an imposter. They continue studying the camera's footage to unveil more details. Figuring out the footage is from the past. Jaehyun confirms a gnawing feeling he had once he entered. They were in an illusion trap. Attempting to use absolute calculation to break the illusion. The system prevented him stating the skill was not allowed. Seo noticing Alfred's body in the footage not being on top of the dining table, gave Jaehyun an idea stating there should be some sort of key for them to get out. Jaehyun activating his mana detection skill locating a mana source in the pudding, Seo suddenly sees the actual deceased Alfred quickly moving to the pudding pulling out a key. Succeeding in undoing the illusion, the fake Alfred was watching. Maintaining his role as the butler, he assumed their meal was not to their satisfaction, and not wanting to disappoint Flandier he leaves to rectify his mistake. Jaehyun and Seo walking through the haunted mansion using the camera to reveal how everything looked in the past. Jaehyun getting a clue. Confirming with Seo's footage to head inside the guest room since they entered as guests and the footage showed a previous incident taking place inside. Seo was too scared to enter, making Jaehyun enter alone. Deciding to look around for clues, the wind blowing the curtains, Jaehyun suddenly turns around seeing a child dressed in white pointing behind him, where the fake butler Alfred was standing. Jaehyun wakes up confused to a screaming Seo. Taking in their surroundings, they were trapped inside a prison underneath the mansion. Jaehyun, sure there should be a way for them to escape, punches his way through without making a sound due to his silence skill being activated. Letting Seo know to be quiet as to not alert the fake Alfred, a puppy suddenly jumps into Jaehyun's hands holding a key in its mouth. Seo skeptical about the puppy's sudden appearance, assuming it was another one of the dungeon's tricks. The puppy growling at her, Jaehyun had received a new quest, Flandier's diary. The information window revealing Flandier's diary location, he was asked to read the diary, perishing if he failed. Seo and Jaehyun now on the third floor unable to determine which room was Flandier's, the ghost that pointed out Alfred was behind him, appeared. Seo wanting to leave immediately, Jaehyun questions the ghost. The ghost appearing like it was unable to talk, it nodded its head when Jaehyun asked if it was here to assist them. Using this newfound knowledge to ask if for directions to Flandier's room. They headed in the direction it pointed in. But Jaehyun turning around to let it know he would assist it in finding peace, the ghost had vanished. Outside the theme dungeon, Park Sunjae telling Song Ji-seok from the National Raider Association, they would not need to concern themselves of this matter, as the Lotus Guild would take care of everything. He asked they refrain from sharing any information regarding Jaehyun, Song Ji-seok reluctantly accepting, unable to determine the Lotus Guild's reason for putting their neck on the line for these students. Song Ji-seok questioned them what would occur if they failed, and Park Sunjae responding they did not need to worry, as the Lotus Guild had their reasons. Back with Jaehyun who was finishing up with some living armors, they enter Flandier's room. An eeriness consuming the room, Jaehyun approached the desk picking up Flandier's diary. The diary revealing Flandier's unfortunate life of losing her parents, becoming the owner of the mansion without any other relatives, stumbling upon a girl naming her Sally. The story takes a turn when Alfred leaves one day, and upon returning he was not the same. Flandier then hearing screams and knocks at her door throughout the night, she felt her death incoming. Jaehyun finishing the story, windows popping up stating they could use all skills, Jaehyun had the feeling Flandier was confronted by a doppelganger. Jaehyun, having successfully figured out Alfred's identity, finding out all the mansion's secrets, the doppelganger and an army of fake Alfreds guarding the entrance, he had to now safely exit the mansion. With Jaehyun faced with the doppelganger and his army of Alfreds, comment what you think will happen next. For more videos like this, check the channel out, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. The doppelganger lunged at Jaehyun, who deftly dodged its vicious strike while clutching the puppy tightly in his arms. Jaehyun couldn't help but taunt the creature, remarking that it had finally revealed its true form. In response, the doppelganger acknowledged Jaehyun's quick wit, commenting that humans usually didn't catch on so quickly. Jaehyun, however, playfully suggested that perhaps he was just exceptionally clever. Or maybe the doppelganger was simply not very bright. Enraged by the taunt, the doppelganger launched another attack at Jaehyun. With a deft and practiced hand, Jaehyun fought back against the relentless onslaught of attacks. The doppelganger's voice cut through the chaos, revealing a haunting desire. It yearned for a human body. Undeterred by its sudden attack restraining it, Jaehyun fired back, reminding the creature of the irony that it now found itself being played with, after having played with others for so long. As the final blow neared, the monster confessed a longing to become human. Jaehyun, with a touch of humor, assured the creature that it was rather adept at being a monster, too. The battle having ended and it being Jaehyun's time to leave, he released the puppy, approaching the exit. But as he turns around, Flandier, who was smiling, waved goodbye. Their second mission successfully completed, gaining extra rewards from the completion of the hidden scenarios. Jaehyun sat on a bench with Seo, looking over his newly acquired skills. Seo couldn't conceal her frustration with Jaehyun, annoyed that he hadn't disclosed knowledge of Flandier's true identity as the puppy. Jaehyun, however, wasted no time. He ordered Seo to move forward to their next destination. Unbelievably, her body responded obediently to his command, making Seo scream angrily. Their journey reaching its final mission, Jaehyun receives a warm welcome from a host named Bruin, who introduced them to the upcoming parade-themed game. In this game of tag, monsters would emerge from a portal, their strength determined by the participants' skills and numbers. Jaehyun couldn't help but foresee the impending challenge. With a nod of approval, Bruin acknowledged their skills as S-rank, wishing them luck, as the system announced the quest last festival. But as the quest began, Jaehyun reading over the quest's information and a colossal flame monster named Surtur emerging. Jaehyun saw they had 3 members, when there was only 2 of them, sensing something to be wrong. Surtur, an entity whose sole purpose was to engulf the world in flames, stood menacingly before Jaehyun and Seo. The two evading, discussing their options for escaping such an overwhelming adversary. A cat observed the situation, discussing if it should intervene, but Hell, wanting to see how he would survive, the cat refrained from assisting. As they contemplated their predicament, an indicator appeared, pointing them toward their destination. Jaehyun devised a daring plan. He would act as bait, diverting Surtur's attention, while Seo made her way to the destination to complete the event. However, Jaehyun's taunt leading Surtur to destroy a building. Disaster struck as the destination was obliterated, and the quest was deemed impossible to complete. Jaehyun now left with only one option: to defeat Surtur. He stood his ground, blocking Surtur's mighty attacks. While Seo, desperately thinking of a way to assist him, made a crucial discovery. A water tank on the outskirts of the theme park. It was a possibility the water could make Surtur weak enough for Jaehyun to fight it. And Seo, using her skills to predict Surtur's movements, she could guide Jaehyun. Seo having guided Jaehyun to the water tanks, Jaehyun taunted Surtur, provoking the monstrous entity into attacking him. Jaehyun swiftly activated his illusion magic, diverting Surtur's destructive power towards the water tank, shattering it. Jaehyun then seizing the opportunity to deal the finishing blow. Surtur was furious at what he deemed a dirty trick, accused Jaehyun of taking the easy way out. Jaehyun, unperturbed, claimed victory, stating that he would have won regardless. Surtur, in his final moments, remarked that he was merely a copy of his true self and that facing him in his original form would be a far greater challenge, so he should not feel too accomplished. As the battle concluded, multiple windows popped up announcing the last festival mission complete. With the rewards being calculated, and Jaehyun receiving Surtur's undying flame, Seo could not believe the battle was finally over. The cat and Hell engaged in a conversation, impressed by Jaehyun's performance and his determination to get stronger. They knew how important it was of keeping Jaehyun hidden from the Asur. As Odin, their leader, the person Jaehyun was fated to defeat, he would need to become much stronger. Jaehyun, meanwhile, looking over Thjalfi's boots, even more impressed by the rank S item. Seo was acting strange, but Jaehyun using the contract to make her talk. She revealed a skill she obtained. Bruin, observing their interactions, believed that they were satisfied with the items they had obtained and bid them farewell, getting close to Jaehyun, addressing him as the great enemy, before vanishing. Outside, a crowd gathered staring at the breaking theme dungeon. They erupted upon seeing Jaehyun and Seo walking out. The crowd quickly surrounding them taking photos and asking questions. Jaehyun vanishes from sight, leaving Seo to deal with everything. Park Jae-hoon and Song Ji-seok discussing Jaehyun's ability to suddenly disappear. Song Ji-seok lets out a slight smirk saying Jaehyun was the not-thought-possible battle mage. Son Ji-in receiving word of Jaehyun's success, impressed he did not want to stay around to receive praise. She couldn't help but acknowledge his unordinary nature especially for his age, deciding to ask him sometime how he did it. Jaehyun at home glad he could not find any articles or mentions of his exploits in the media, impressed with the power the Lotus Guild held, likely being the one suppressing the information. Jaehyun reflected on his journey and recognized that despite his recent achievements, he still knew he was weak. Knowing he had to be strong enough to dominate every opponent he came across, his training to achieve that feat started now. As his family and friends were hanging in the balance. Chairman Gu Jia-in finished up with instructor Jong Isu who was to report on Jaehyun's movements. The chairman could not wait for the upcoming event, as he would use it to destroy the obstacles in his path. Kim Yoo-young upset at Jaehyun for going ghost, leaving everyone worried. She attempted to inquire into his whereabouts, but was interrupted by the appearance of Lee Soo-hyuk telling Jaehyun this event would not pan out the same. But Jaehyun, Seo Aina and Kim Yoo-young not knowing who he was, he screams his name to them. Instructor Jong Isu advising Lee Soo-hyuk to lower his voice within the lecture room. Class begun. Introducing herself as their new teacher for Magic Calculations 1, she began the class by giving a brief definition of the course, followed up by handing everyone books. But upon opening the book, the students were surprised, seeing it was a blank book. But Jaehyun receiving the book couldn't help but smile, prompting instructor Jong Isu to ask him if he knew what was written in the book. Jaehyun confidently responding it was runes, Jong Isu thinking the books were magical texts that could only be read by solving calculations, which most new students would take a week to decipher. How was Jaehyun able to solve it instantly? Instructor Jong Isu following up with another question, asking if he understood the meaning of the rune on the cover. Jaehyun contemplated whether the Nornir system was playing tricks on him or if it was a twist of fate with the Asur. He carefully read the cover, which revealed the title, Odin's Life and the Basics of Runes. Meanwhile, Seo nursing a sore leg assigning Jaehyun the blame for suddenly disappearing, forcing her to deal with the aftermath, bound by the contract. She wanted the subordination contract to end, deciding to seek him out. Meanwhile, Jaehyun studying the text figuring out he could access a wider range of lower-rank magic by learning basic calculation formulas. This was a vital step he had to take to increase his magical level. Yoo-young was struggling to see the text especially since she taught Jaehyun about magic, and Seo Aina also able to read the text. Her frustration grew. As Yoo-young raged on, a raven on the outside peered in on the group, flying away after some time. The group brainstorming ideas for the name of their potion shop, Yoo-young began to worry about the possibility of failure. In response, An Hoi-yeon reassured her that survival was the most crucial skill for a raider, and there was no way their business would fail. He believed their concept was revolutionary. Jaehyun, seen pondering a few days prior, was content with his school work, thinking about his next order of business. Deciding to use the opportunity he had as a regressor to prepare for the future, knowing that investing and a business for raiders were very profitable. Back in the present, Jaehyun knew someone who would control half of the world's potion business, making him fairly wealthy, Lee Jae-sang. But the group startled as Seo bursts through the door upset at Jaehyun for the contract. Agitated by her sudden appearance, he ordered her to take a seat using her mind to come up with suitable names for their potion shop. Jaehyun hearing their suggestions thinking monsters in dungeons could come up with better names. Kim Yoo-young upset with not being asked, suggests the name Workshop Elixir, a suggestion that both Lee Jae-sang and Jaehyun found appealing, thus adopting the name. After the lecture concluded, Jaehyun approached instructor Jong Isu to inquire about a passage he had read in the 4-star rank magic textbook. Jong Isu was astonished, as most instructors struggled to read material of that level. While Jaehyun felt disappointed that he hadn't gained any valuable insights from instructor Jong Isu while in the library, deciding to approach the situation from a fundamental standpoint. In the midst of him leaving the library, a person with white hair and glasses writes his name down, along with the level of the textbook he had been reading. Later that day, Jaehyun meeting with Son Ji-in asking for her to break down the 4-star magic books, creation, destruction and amplification formulas and theories. She told him she couldn't provide him with all the answers, as 4-star magic had to be learned on your own to achieve a A-rank raider status. But Son Ji-in, seeing Jaehyun as her student, offered to teach him at least one discipline. Asking him what he would like to know about amplification, Jaehyun responds anything to make himself stronger. Jaehyun inside the AR battle system room, engaged in battle holding Gleipnir, the mythical binding string used to seal Fenrir, the giant wolf. This imitation item had a unique property. When tied to the user, it reduced their stats by 50%. A flashback showing Sonjian instructing Jaehyun to focus on a single skill, analyzing its formula repeatedly. Jaehyun was unsure how it related to amplification, in which Sonjian responded it was for him to discover. As we return witnessing him struggle in the AR testing room. Jaehyun now in class looking terrible, Yu-young inquiring into his well-being having seen him in the AR test room for the past week. Seo Aina also expressing her concern for his well-being, witnessing his overexertion, he thanked them for their concern. Changing the subject to an impending quiz, prompting Yu-young to head to the library with Seo Aina. Jaehyun having returned to the AR test room, a window announcing he flawlessly cleared level 41, multiple windows pop up showing his formula understanding having increased, to the point that his magic arrow reached level 2. Jaehyun smiling, able to understand amplification, a term meaning to level up a skill you understood the ins and outs of. Jaehyun was making progress to becoming a A rank raider. At the same time, Chairman Gu receiving word from Kim Suk of the upcoming guild experience event preparations being complete. Surprised by how quickly everything was done, getting confirmation from Kim Suk that everything was done right. He sinisterly looks at him, commenting he hoped he was useful in this matter, hinting to what would become of him if he failed again. Jaehyun having left the AR test room and now outside, he sensed he was being followed, telling the person to reveal themselves. He was suddenly attacked, thinking Gu Jaehyun was brave for having such an obvious attack on academy grounds. Jaehyun felt confident attacking with his magic arrow level 2 attack. Jaehyun getting a sudden feeling of danger, Min Song walks up to him saying, "Long time no see, son." Jaehyun immediately attacking his father, kicking off the battle. He quickly found himself injured, shocked by a sword slash he could not even see. Min Song stating he looked forward to seeing him, but is shocked by his aggression. Jaehyun expressed he had no feelings for him and should reveal why he was here. Min Song looking at him, thinking his powers from the prophecy should have a limit, he asks if the resistant Asurs have been in contact. Min Song immediately attacking Jaehyun, seeing his shocked expression, he was barely able to block, thinking this was a true A rank raider's power. Jaehyun asking if he was going to kill him, his father responds no. Thinking Jaehyun is bound to become a major obstacle for his and the Asurs' plans, he would only stunt his growth by severing his limbs. Min Song about to attack, he was suddenly attacked, easily blocking it, revealing the cat Hell was discussing with earlier. Min Song inquiring into the sudden interference as a contract between the Asur and the resistant Asurs was in place. The cat speaking, transforming into a girl with white hair, says they still needed this child. Jaehyun confused with the unfolding events, the white-haired girl attacking Min Song, stating he knew this was the only option. Min Song blocked the attack, saying Loki had gotten weak, but he would depart now. But if she were to interfere again, he would enact according to the Asur contract. The white-haired lady grazing his neck, threatening he could be eliminated easily, and the Asur's contract had nothing to do with him even if he killed Odin's crow. Min Song vanished. The white-haired lady then turning around, introducing herself to Jaehyun as Hell's alter ego, Hela. She was tasked to observe him while guiding him through the 5 trials. Jaehyun healing himself as Hela told him he could ask her any questions. He couldn't help but inquire about the true identity of Min Song. Hela revealed that Song was not his real father, and was named Hugin, one of Odin's crows. This cunning creature had the ability to control and feed on the human mind, masquerading as Jaehyun's father, keeping an eye on the great enemy. Jaehyun, confused Hela, decides it would be easier to show him instead, bringing up his backed-up memories. Hela guided Jaehyun through his memories, showing him moments when he was brutally beaten by Song for awakening as the fated great enemy. But Jaehyun dragged to another memory. He witnesses his real father's funeral and the deep bond he shared with his parents flooding back. He successfully recovered his memories. Hela explained that Song's cruel treatment was a consequence of Jaehyun being born as the prophesized great enemy. She delved into the history of what had transpired 10,000 years ago during the first Ragnarok, a conflict that marked the end of the gods and the beginning of extinction. The resistant Asur alliance had valiantly fought during the Extinction War, but ultimately lost to the Asur gods and the army led by the Valkyries. In the aftermath of the war, Odin offered a precarious contract to the defeated gods and giants. They could live, but only if they obeyed him without question and refrained from harming the Asur gods. Odin's authority established, people from multiple worlds suffered. It was then that the 3 sisters of Norn delivered a prophecy, foreseeing the second extinction. They prophesied that 10,000 years later, the weakest being would bring about Odin's downfall, topple Asgard, and usher in a new world. That weakest being was none other than Min Jaehyun, as foretold in the prophecy, their only hope. With newfound understanding, Jaehyun couldn't help but wonder about Odin's grand plan. Hela explained that Odin aimed to grasp all 9 realms, including Midgard where humans resided, firmly within his grasp. In Asgard, Odin, irritated constantly hearing about the prophecy, gives Heimdall temporary authority, meaning he would be able to go to the other realms and confront Jaehyun. Jaehyun training, recalling his conversation with Hela as to why Odin hadn't already killed him if he posed such a threat. Hela explained that the power of prophecy was something even the gods could not overpower. And it was this power that protected him. She elaborated that as the second Ragnarok approached, all the restrictions, including the protective power, would fade away, making the Asur gods able to eliminate him. But Hela revising her statement saying he was already killed once, it suddenly became clear to Jaehyun that his life before his regression had been a part of Odin's plan all along. They had killed his family, manipulated his memories, and subjected him to a torturous existence. Hela, sensing his anger and desire for revenge, says she is the guide for the 5 trials fate would have him undertake. A window popping up, his path to defeat Odin started. Hela urged him to become strong before the impending end. Meanwhile, An Hoi-yan was engrossed in his training when Chairman Gu requested his presence in his office. At the same moment, Gu on the phone with the congressman, revealing he would eliminate the lower-ranking students at the next event. Gu having prepared an artificial gate opening, the congressman became more confident in the plan. An Hoi-yan outside the office having heard everything, connected the dots from name tag event holding Gu responsible for controlling his mind. Angered by the situation, he is able to stay calm entering the chairman's office, knowing he would need some assistance in solving the problem. Jaehyun in class recalling Hela stating Ragnarok could happen earlier as Odin knew of him and the resistant Asur's alliance. Instructor Jong Isu announced the end of class. Telling them of the upcoming guild experience event personally prepared by the chairman, the experience would provide them with much needed knowledge. As she moves on announcing the guild priority, a list guild send in requesting the students they would like to join them for the event. Jaehyun, Seo Aina and Kim Yu-young get announced for the Lotus Guild making Yu-young ecstatic, instructor Jong Isu ending. Jaehyun, Seo Aina and Kim Yu-young all receive messages from An Hoi-yan, stating there was an emergency. An Hoi-yan having revealed his findings of Chairman Gu, everyone couldn't help but realize the threat he posed to the students, wanting to stop him. It was during this conversation that Jaehyun received a quest notification, urging him to prevent Chairman Gu's scheme and save the students. Determined to outwit Chairman Gu, Jaehyun set out to formulate a plan that would thwart his intentions and protect his fellow students. Jaehyun speaking with instructor Jong Isu, who was shocked to find out he had mastered the 4-star magic text. She was extremely nervous, unsure if she should continue assisting Gu. Jaehyun sensing her nervousness reveals he knew she would report this to Gu. Jaehyun taking advantage with her sudden outburst, brainwashes her with his skill confirming him to be currently stronger than her. Jaehyun aware the best way to take out Gu would be from within, he instructs Jong Isu they would be allied during the event and tells her to reveal Gu's plan. The guild experience day having arrived, Kim Yu-young, Seo Aina, and An Hoi-yan embarked on a tour of the Lotus Guild building, guided by Park Sun-jae. Park Sun-jae having arrived at the last place on their tour, Seon-jian appears introducing herself. Kim Yu-young unable to resist the opportunity to ask Seon-jian for her autograph, she thanked her attributing her motivation stemming from her supporters. Seon-jian then telling Jaehyun he had made many friends, making An Hoi-yan inquire if they knew of each other. Seon-jian revealed Jaehyun was her student, shocking everyone. Then revealing that to be the reason they were all here as Lotus and few other guilds have been aware of Gu's exploits. They have not been able to do anything due to his influence. The group discussing the upcoming event, creating a plan to stop Gu. Jaehyun liking the plan believed Gu would find a workaround if he knew of the Lotus Guild's involvement. He told her it would be better for his group to save the other students. A group of students found themselves in an eerie and seemingly abandoned location, led there by a person who turned out to be instructor Kim Suk in disguise. The student sensing something to be off, instructor Kim Suk's disguise skill wears off. Having no other choice, he traps them, bidding them farewell, acknowledging that this would be his final lecture before they faced what he ominously referred to as hell. Meanwhile, Jaehyun's group having arrived at an abandoned building of their own, Jaehyun was telepathically communicating with Park Sung-jae. Park Sung-jae inquiring into how Jaehyun knew telepathy. His downplayed remark left Sung-jae amazed, as he entrusted him to look out for everyone. Seon-jian speaking with Park Sung-jae's sister regarding Jaehyun's tenacity, Seon-jian is suddenly startled with a strange mana emergence. A flashback revealing Gu had founded a guild called Kane, and they would have a hand to play in this event's tragedies, based off the information Jaehyun gathered from instructor Jong Isu. Seon-jian was told Gu's Kane guild was actually a ghost guild used for corruption. Jaehyun's information being right, Seon-jian requested for her battle equipment to be prepared in case everything turned into chaos. As Jaehyun and his group arrived at their destination, Jaehyun immediately sensed rotting mana, thinking he would have to face what was ahead with him and Park Sung-jae instead. Seo Aina sensing the magic to be advanced, they suddenly found themselves trapped like Kim Suk had done to the group previously. Unable to move, a mysterious voice suddenly appears inviting them to enter the realm of the dark elves known as Svartalfheimr. Windows popping up warning them to leave the dungeon immediately, as their levels were too low to have a fighting chance. A monster seated on the throne was smiling, as it suddenly raised its army, telling them it was feeding time. Jaehyun, taking in the surroundings, knew this realm to be inhabited by dark elves, who once held power comparable to gods. Knowing they were weaker due to their realm becoming a dungeon, he could not believe this to be Gu's plan of eliminating the low-level students. But on Hoyeon mentioning how Gu could use advanced magic, Jaehyun knew it was not him, but another person assisting him. The situation looking bad, Park Sung-jae appears, shocking the group. Sung-jae revealing Jaehyun having asked him to come in case anything went wrong. He told them just because he was here nothing would change. The dark elves being a formidable enemy, they would need to constantly be alert, and Jaehyun, thinking he was correct, still smiled, having seen numerous methods to flawlessly clear the dungeon in his previous life. He tells everybody he would ensure they made it out safely. As he instructed them, their first task would be to locate survivors. Jaehyun's group venturing through the dungeon, On Hoyeon's father, On Seagu, was shown having a conversation with Chief Director Gu. He was assuring On Seagu that his son would place first, but On Seagu, frustrated over his son losing to Jaehyun, a magic class student. Gu told him of Jaehyun's exceptional 97% magic aptitude. On Seagu's father, shocked by this revelation, decides it was time for him to leave. Gu, seated back thinking of On Seagu's connections and influence in the central government, knowing he needed him, still decided he should not intervene, knowing that it would likely end badly for him. Jaehyun's group making their way through the dungeon, Jaehyun illuminated the dungeon by using his level 3 flash skill. The group, including Sung-jae, impressed by his growth, as Seo Aina points out only A-rank raiders could level up their skills. They continue moving forward looking at Jaehyun like he was an anomaly. Park Sun-jae suggesting they should take a break to recover, Jaehyun then deactivating his flash skill so they could get used to the dark, as they would be likely battling the dark elves in darkness. They take out the potions that Jae-sang had prepared for them. Jaehyun uses his skills to scan the area for possible survivors. Stating the boss room was down the center path. He could not finish as he stops a spear from hitting Seo Aina. Activating absolute calculation, destroying the spear, the group found themselves surrounded by dark elves. Everyone taking one look at Jaehyun, Yu-young starts the battle by activating her mana field skill, resulting in On Hoyeon and Seo Aina activating supportive skills. Park Sun-jae then kicking off the battle attacking an elf. Jaehyun decides to join, activating his level 5 blitz chain. Jaehyun's blitz chains connecting with the dark elves, he recalled the tutorial on how to clear Svartalfheimer. He remembered that the dark elves' weapons and armor were all crafted from magic, meaning he could destroy them with absolute calculation. Jaehyun then ordering Kim Yu-young and Seo Aina to focus exclusively on using fire-type magic, on Hoyeon to use his provocation skill slowing down the enemy's movements, and Park Sun-jae to target those affected dark elves. Park Sun-jae activates level 5 stealth, erasing his presence, swiftly attacking the elves. Jaehyun then activating Fire Strike, taking out an elf. The orders Jaehyun issued was proven to be extremely effective as the elves were falling one by one, unable to fight back due to their weaknesses being exploited. The battle over, Jaehyun tells them they should move, having felt some mana from survivors, and if they were to prolong they would likely not make it in time. Meanwhile, the director scolding instructor Kim Suk regarding Park Sun-jae entering the dungeon. He warned him if anyone made it out alive, he knew what would become of him. Sonjian sensing Jaehyun and his group in danger, she decided to discreetly join the battle, because if Gu had laid a finger on anyone she would personally teach him a lesson. Two survivors collapsing, being on their last leg, the girl was crying, wishing she was stronger to make it out. But a hand touching her back, Jaehyun emerges telling her he would take over as she falls unconscious. Yu-young and On Hoyeon giving them healing potions, they wake up. The two survivors, still catching their breath, told them they had been ambushed by dark elves shortly after being transferred. Many of their fellow students had been captured and taken away, but they had managed to escape, succumbing to mana overdose. Jaehyun, thinking they were feeling ashamed for not standing to fight, lets them know it was not their fault, and they should take him to where they are. The boy hesitating in his answer. The girl told him they were headed to the Elf's King, which Jaehyun knew likely to be the boss room. Jaehyun then asking them who had brought them, the boy angrily responds saying Instructor Kim Suk. The group arriving facing multiple different paths, the middle one leading to the boss room. Jaehyun made up his mind to go alone, sensing the survivors did not have long, he needed to be very quick. However, Kim Yu-young and Seo Aina expressing their reluctance, On Hoyeon agreeing with Jaehyun. He told them they would currently struggle with the dark elves in a one-on-one battle and needing to protect the injured, this was the best solution. Yu-young, upset knowing the outcome could lead to Jaehyun's demise, she had to accept it with no other possible solutions. Park Sun-jae letting him know to return if he is unable to handle it, and On Hoyeon telling him he would look after everyone in his absence. He departs. Yu-young sad, but acting strong for Seo Aina. Park Sun-jae sensing approaching enemies tells them to be quiet, but before he could utter another word he is unexpectedly slashed. As dark elves approach them, calling them insects while smiling. Jaehyun, having entered the boss room, was warned of Park Sung-jae's deteriorating health. He contemplated returning to assist them, but the dark elf standing at the entrance and Jaehyun recalling on Hoyeon saying he would protect them. He chose to trust them, remaining focused on defeating the dark elf king. Amidst the chaos, Park Sung-jae writhed in agony, the poison from the dark elf's weapon coursing through his veins. Seo Aina realized that Sonjian should have noticed by now that Park Sung-jae is in danger. As earlier in the day, Sonjian had given them Ivaldi's earring, which would send a signal if any of them were in danger, and she had promised to come to their aid in case of an emergency. As Jaehyun battled the dark elves, he couldn't help but recall a conversation with An Hoyeon. Jaehyun having told Hoyeon that he needed around 10 minutes to defeat the dark elf king. Hoyeon's face showing a sign of determination to create time for his battle with the boss. He sent him forward telling him he would take care of things until he returned. Jaehyun's party battling the dark elves, An Hoyeon noticed them to be stronger than the ones they had faced previously. He questioned the identity of their opponent, who introduced himself as Kel, the captain of the royal guard tasked with protecting the noble dark elf king. Kel also revealed that he was of royal bloodline, hinting at his formidable power. The group surmised that he might be even stronger than an A-rank raider. In this critical moment, An Hoyeon recalled the first time he had met Jaehyun, who had vowed to protect him. It was as if Jaehyun embodied all the positive aspects of a raider's spirit, walking a path unburdened by external pressures. An Hoyeon was determined to catch up to him, no matter what it took. With resolve, he dropped his shield and remembered Jaehyun's teachings about the different chi centers within a raider. An Hoyeon uttered the word open, and the dark elf was taken back by the surge of mana that followed. The S-rank skill, unity of body and sword, that Hoyeon had acquired through his intense training with the sword. It allowed him to reach the zenith of swordsmanship, merging his very being with the weapon he wielded. However, the price for using such a skill was steep, as it strained his body to its limits. Notifications flashed urgently in front of An Hoyeon's vision, warning him that the skill's level was far too high for his current capabilities. His body was being pushed to the brink of destruction, and he had only a limited time to cancel the skill before it consumed him entirely. Despite the dire situation, An Hoyeon's determination burned brighter than ever. He knew that he couldn't defeat Kel in his current condition, but he could stall for time. With every strike, he aimed not only to survive but to create more time for Jaehyun, keeping his promise. As the minutes ticked away, Hoyeon's body began to betray him. Muscular fibers disconnected, blood paths twisted, and his very life force was slipping away. Yet, he fought on, pushing himself beyond his limits, wanting to adhere to his promise. Kel, ever calculating and ruthless, took advantage of Hoyeon's weakened state. He launched a devastating attack, sending Hoyeon hurtling backwards. But even as Hoyeon faced certain defeat, he mustered the strength for one final, desperate attack. With a cry of determination, An Hoyeon attacks Kel. A dark elf seen injured, An Hoyeon's eyes widen, having seen Kel use another dark elf as a living shield to protect himself from the impending strike. An Hoyeon watching Kel approach, calling him a coward, as he gasped between breaths. The battle reached its tragic conclusion as the dark elf Kel's blade found its mark, making Kim Yoo-young scream out to Hoyeon. Jaehyun's party on the brink of defeat. Comment what you think will happen next. For more videos like this, check the channel out, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.